Do 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 do. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing this fine evening? I hope well. Alright, just checking something. Oh, there we go. Sorry, my stream hiccuped a little bit there. But how's everybody doing this fine evening? I hope you're all doing fantastic. I am doing great. I got home from work today. I checked my messages. Before I went to work today, someone messaged me about this video existing. I listened to it a little bit at work. I haven't actually listened to this whole video. I couldn't make it through that much at work. It's just I was going through the offices. I was cleaning. I was listening. And I'm like, I want to shoot my brains out. Like, freaking stop. Havoc, you beautiful bastard. How you doing? Guten Abend, Asmogan. Guten Abend, guten Abend. Welcome. Yes. So, before we get into it too much, obviously, I'm also starting the stream a little early here, so I am gonna, just hang out and chat with you guys for a few minutes before we get into it for the scheduled proper time for the stream. Blind Lobster, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Doing well. How are you? I'm doing pretty good. I got home from work about an hour ago, give or take. I was originally going to do a video on what we're going to talk about today, but I decided, screw it. Let's just watch it on stream and have a blast. Let's just go through it bit by bit. Mexican Oni, welcome to stream. Hey, what's up, man? Long time no see. Really? I live streamed yesterday. But I suppose you weren't there. It's been, I guess, a week since you and I said hi. Well, good to see ya. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Pretty much. It's a do it live moment. Hello, Barry Ryan. Welcome to stream. Yes. I will say how we're gonna start off the stream past this like initial hangout. Singsar, whoa, I'm early. Yes, you are. So am I actually. But only by a few minutes. So I am gonna just hang and chat with you guys back and forth for a bit here. I'm actually gonna get started on the topic in about 6 minutes, maybe less. We might start a tad early. I ate Gene Stealer ass. Nice. Welcome. Hey, early and straight. Nice. Oh boyo. Hey, Ferric. How you doing? Oh boyo. Yes. So, by the way, though the thumbnail is photoshopped, the actual tweets there are not. You guys are about. If you guys don't know who this is, I can't blame you. They are a nobody outside of Twitter. That should tell you a lot that this person's only claim to fame is a Twitter following by a bunch of alt accounts, bot accounts, and a couple of actual fellow brainwashed far left psychopaths. But yeah, this person is famous, popular. We'll put it like that, lefty popular over on Twitter, and they have been a very entertaining individual to interact with. Bits being cringe Bits is cringe if you gave it a physical body. Like that's Bits pretty much in good summation, I'd say. And it was me, the one that was away. I saw that you have been active in streaming, but I had family stuff and working and wasn't able to join. No, that's fine, man. That's fine. It's good to have you here now. Hopefully I can catch you for a painting stream, though, because I know that's like a big thing like you like to watch. I must defend women to fucking birthdays. Yeah, that's a pretty good way to not entirely sum up Bits, because to his credit, 2 times speed, please. He talks so freaking slow. Oh, so have you seen the video? I haven't actually watched it all the way through. I couldn't make it past the 20-minute mark. I'm surprised I made it that far, and you're right. Like, he talks. Like, by a show of ones in the chat, who here has seen a clip of Keffels? The commie trans person. I won't be surprised if you guys don't know him. 2, obviously, if you don't know him. But 1, if you do know or have seen a clip or heard a clip of Keffels. I won't blame any of you for not knowing Keffels, since a lot of us are, Warhammer hobbyists for the most part here. So I'd be surprised if you guys knew who I'm talking about. Never seen. Nope. 2. Blind Lobster. Is it someone who actually knows the 40k background? They think so. Asmogan, what has the Wokehammer crowd done? Specifically, their Messiah. Their fat Reddit and Discord mod Messiah. Two. I've watched other videos, and one of them Moots watched this one. It was the same. Wait, who else has covered this? I thought I was the first to cover this. Ooh, who beat me to it? Who beat me to it? I want to know. Interesting topic since I'm painting Custodes right now. Oh, fitting. And, oh, Mexican is the only one who's heard Keffals. Okay, so for context for everybody who says they don't know Keffals or haven't heard Keffals before, Keffals, short summary of who that person is, they're a trans woman who is far left. Like, we're talking, she ran for the Communist Party in Canada. Believe it or not, that's actually where I first heard of Keffals. I didn't even realize they were a YouTuber until years later. But Keffals ran for the Communist Party in Canada, just north of me. So dude in a dress. I'm on YouTube, I can't comment. But Keffals, trans woman, part of the Communist Party, super fucking left-leaning. Recently got caught basically having... they were a coke addict and a crack addict for a while. Then they try to go clean. The big reason that they're hated right now, other than being a lefty, but even by their own base, the reason that Keffals is being hated right now is they were caught having stolen $100,000 from people who tried to support her because she got doxxed. It's a whole thing, but I'm not getting into that. That's pure politics, and this is Warhammer getting forcefully rammed up the ass by politics by, yet again, Bitshammer. But the reason I bring up Keffals is because if you've heard Keffals, you've heard how this guy sounds. And if you don't know Keffals, shoot, what's the guy called? There was someone who recently made a really far lefty nut job video as well. In Praise of Shadows, I think it is. The person who tried to call out Wendigoon and then cartoonishly showed themselves off to be everything. It showed them to be super fucking racist. Like, this person, holy crap. But if you've seen the coverage of the In Praise of Shadows stuff, and again, we're all hobbyists here, so I'd be surprised if you... Unfortunately, I've been exposed to a lot of, cringe internet drama lately, so I know this stuff too well. But hopefully you guys don't. But if you do, In Praise of Shadows is another good example. These three lefties, In Praise of Shadows, Keffals, and Bitshammer, all talk the same way. Super long and drawn out, and they sound like they've been partially lobotomized. And don't get me wrong, they've figuratively been lobotomized. They've been brainwashed by the cult of the left. But sweet Jesus, do you have to sound like it? Speaking of painting Custodes, non-metal, NMM, non-metal medium, or... Can you confirm NMM and TMM for me, just so I'm sure which the acronym is? Non-metallic metal, okay. And non-metallic metal, and I'm assuming the other one is metallic metal. For me, it depends. Am I going for an ultra detailed model that I want to do a lot of fancy lighting on? I'd probably do non-metallic metal, for the shade from black to the shading, and to make it look like a metallic from a glow. But if I just want to paint off a quick army of Custodes or Grey Knights, for example, and just do a lead belcher or a Retributor Gold from a distance, I'd probably just do that. It depends on if I'm in a speed painting mood and I just want to get this tabletop ready, or if I'm doing a really fancy model. If I'm doing a fancy model, I'd probably do non-metallic metal. Non-metallic metal is too much work. Again, it depends. If you are in the mood to do a high detailed model, then by all means go for it. But if you just want to get the bare minimum tabletop ready, do that. Obviously, you wouldn't really bother with that effect. You would just go for like a retributor armor or a lead belcher or some like variation. Yeah. So again, for me, it depends on the mood. Hey, Spencer Campbell, welcome to stream. Pat Gray, welcome to stream. True metallic metal. Oh, okay. So it's non-metallic metal versus true metallic metal. That, again, it depends on the mood for me. I don't have like a blanket, like in all circumstances I need true metallic, or in all circumstances I do non-metallic. It depends on my mood, and if it's a commission, how much I'm being paid. I just used what I got. Fair enough. Alright, so we are now past the point where the stream is supposed to start, so let's get into today's topic. So recently, a individual, not this one, an individual, non-metallic metal is great, but takes forever. It does. It's a long process. It's a long process. I usually don't do that unless it's like a hero character. But if a hero character and I really want to spend the time to do it, generally I just do true metallic metal. But anyway, recently, Bitshammer, a very popular person over on Twitter, I call him the Messiah of the left, or Wokehammer, specifically, because they constantly at this motherfucker every single time they get into an argument with anybody, any, like, true Warhammer fans, and they're getting their asses handed to them, whether it's a lore argument, whether it's an argument about, like, some of, like, the meta rules of the game. If it's an argument between Wokehammer and a normal hobbyist, and they're getting their asses handed to them, which happens quite frequently, they just don't know something, because, again, they're not real fans. So they don't know something, so they'll at Bits, who technically knows more than they do, and that's because he's opened up, like, 1 or 2 books. So, by default, he's like the librarian of their group. So, in a way, I guess you could make the argument that Bits is a real fan, in the sense that he used to be, but he's become brainwashed by the left hardcore. The guy is political as they come, and he thinks anybody left of Stalin is an alt-right neo-Nazi. Like that, and this guy goes the distance when people don't agree with him, especially if you're a minority and you don't agree with him. Oh, watch the sparks fly. Actually, I have great examples. For example, this one. Alright, let me zoom in for the posterity of this. Okay, so actually let me alter my view here, so you guys get the full glory of this. Alright, there we go. Alright, so this is from Bitshammer. Let me adjust this again here. I have too many, like, assets to click on. There we go. Alright, so this is my favorite tweet this guy has ever done. Bitshammer notoriously calls women birthers when they don't agree with him. He still does it to this day. So the guy's a misogynist. He's a misogynist that pretends he's like a champion for women and like an epic male feminist. He's a Vosh stan, if anyone's curious. So the guy is like one of those types. He's a male pick-me. And he's constantly like, I shall defend my women. I shall defend the precious women. But then the moment a woman disagrees with him, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. He goes off. And he says the most sexist, discriminatory shit you've ever heard. And this individual, by the way, Brooke Ashley, if I recall correctly, this wasn't even a woman. But Ashley is a female name, and Brooke Ashley. So this individual, a lot of people thought was a woman, and they didn't correct it until after this situation. I don't know the full history of it, but I know that this person overall isn't a woman that he's responding to. But he thought, and the rest of us did, actually, to be fair, thought Ashley was a girl. I mean, you would think so with a name like that, but I think it was just something else. But the point is, He thought this was a woman who was disagreeing with him. And if it was on the basis of female space marines. So he responded and retweeted images, not even retweeted her actual tweets because he blocked her, or blocked them, sorry. And he kept calling her and other women who actually have legitimately disagreed with him, quite a few, and he's called them birthers. This is his typical fallback of whenever he disagrees with a woman. He breaks them down and boils them down to their bare genetics, and that's it. Like, a woman is less than human to him if they don't agree with him. So he called what he believed to be a woman at the time a birther. The birther isn't getting smarter. And he also said it again. Hold on here. My screen is cutting off. There we go. He said again, fucking disgusting ass birther arguments. There is a very good reason there are no female Astartes. So this guy is a piece of shit. And a hypocrite. The ultimate fucking hypocrite. He still does this to this day. He still calls women birthers who don't agree with him. The guy goes ham all the time. Hey, Ben Patterson, welcome to stream. Can't confirm yet. Male feminist supreme. Excuse me, you mean these creatures project what they are? You mean they accuse others of what they actually are? I do not believe you. I'm sure you don't. There's not like this ample amount of evidence of them doing this all the fucking time. Male feminist is just a synonym for sexual predator. I agree. I used to think there was some nuance there. I really don't. I don't anymore. I've met so many people who proclaim to be male feminists that say the most horrendous shit about women the moment they don't fucking agree. It's amazing. Smokey Mo, welcome. Ego-based, can't take criticism. Bitshammer? Yeah. In relation to Rick? Rick. No joke. If you see a guy very desperate for more female, quote-unquote, plastic soldier toys, he will harass actual women to a disgusting degree. So, yeah. Bitshammer has. Like, again, this was over female plastic. He couldn't get his itty bitty rocks off to Sisters of Battle, so he was like, I need my muscle mommies. And the moment a real woman was like, hey, I don't think they're necessary and they don't fit the lore, they just don't fit, so yeah, they just shouldn't be. And again, this wasn't an actual woman, but if it had been, doesn't change anything. And he calls them birthers. Oh god, he's a very. I love this guy so much because he's such a great sexist. It's amazing. He sounds like an idiot. Oh yeah, he absolutely is. He absolutely is. The guy is a walking dumbass machine. We're gonna get into his video because he made a whole video, and it's amazing. But yeah, the guy, the guy's amazing. Tech Heresy, welcome to stream. Wokehammer drones might like the setting, but the thing they actually enjoy is taking it away from you. Yeah, that's why they do what they do. John, hey, welcome to the stream, John. I'm still working on the P.O. box thing. My post office wasn't open this morning. I think it was some kind of delay in terms of opening. I don't know what's going on. That or I just went at a bad time. It was like 11:30. And the door was locked, so they might have just been on a lunch break. But I had to go to work immediately after that, so I will have to go another day. But I will get to you as soon as possible about setting up that P.O. box. Birther, seriously, don't even use women and we are called sexist? Wait, don't even use women. Woman, and we were called sexist. Sexists. Can you put that another? I'm not sure what you're saying with that comment. Birther, seriously, that part I get. Like that, you're off put by that. But don't even use woman, and we were called sexists. Oh, as in like we didn't just refer to women as just the woman or the women. Spooky Heathen, welcome to stream. Hey, all, we looking at some cringe? Oh yeah, we're looking at some cringe. We're not even into the cringiest bit. We're just going out. I'm just giving you guys a background on who we're about to talk about. It's glorious. They can't even define what a woman is. How are they supposed to stand it? Well, let's be honest. I'm going to call this out right now. We all know that they know what a woman is. Okay? All of these male feminists that constantly thirst after muscle mommies, that these Coomer lefty degenerates, we all know what we all know they know what a woman is. But their political ideology has told them that they're not allowed to accept that basic reality they do fundamentally understand, and they must parrot the idea that the traditional definition of a woman isn't the truth. They know it's the truth, subconsciously or consciously, but their ideology does not allow them to admit that. So they lie. They lie because they think it'll get them sex, or they think they'll get social validation. One or the other, or both. Why don't the woke go after bisexuals? They're essentially saying there's only two genders. Okay, I get what you mean. Why don't they go after them for being attracted to only two gender? I think it's because they excuse it in their head as, okay, well, bisexuals are because they also have what the pansexual thing, and those are considered separate. Like bisexual, you're only attracted to male or female, but it's not the and this is their brain, their pretzel brain, right? But being bisexual is not the denial of other genders, it's just the attraction to the traditional binary. That's like their brain rot explanation. And that's how they excuse it, and that's why they don't go after it. But give it time. Like once they run out of targets for a given week, they'll go after bisexual or go after whatever they invent in their head. Like, for example, they went after J.K. Rowling, and that woman's a fucking lefty. Like, J.K. Rowling is a hyper lefty, but they still went after her because they were bored. They were bored. And she made one comment that wasn't even that far off of their ideology, and they still went after her. So just give it time. We gotta wait. You just gotta wait for a day that they're bored and they got nothing else going on. Alright, so welcome Frank M. and Rebellious Red. I didn't see it earlier, but welcome. Bitshammer is back at it. I see. Oh, yes. But they aren't biologists. As long as the thing is, they'll quote biologists that support their ideology, but if a biologist disagrees, they just call them like an alt-righter or something like that. Again, if you parrot the ideology, you're a valid critic, you're a valid person to have good opinions, you know, all that standard stuff. But if you go against the ideology, it doesn't matter if you have the same exact credentials of the people that they quote and praise, they will go after you, they'll call you every name in the book, they'll say you're lying, yada, yada, yada. To them, it doesn't matter. Like, doesn't matter what you quote, doesn't matter what you bring up. What matters is what the ideology has taught them to repeat, what they are taught to parrot. I meant he won't use woman to call women, or women, and they call us sexist. Sorry, English is not my main. No, that's fine. It's fine. I understand what you. I think I understand what you're saying. Right. He'd probably call a black guy a raccoon the moment they disagree with him. I don't have any screenshots, but I think that's happened. Thing is, I don't have any screenshots, but I'm pretty sure that's happened. And if it hasn't happened, it is kind of sad that I'm at a point where that would not at all surprise me if that is what Bits has done in the past. He's got a track record. Like, if you don't agree with his ideology, you are now subhuman and he can call you whatever he deems fit. Like... And by the way, there is a picture of Bits that has gone around the internet at one point. I know that the... Edward Bailey, thank you so much for the 5, man. Much appreciated generosity. My partner who leans left says that the left, eat their own sooner or later. Really? Normally you can't get the left to admit that, so... Well, respect to your partner, though, for recognizing that, though. Yeah, by the sounds of it, they... You know, obviously I don't know your situation and you don't need to share anything more than you want to. But by the sounds of it, your partner is probably more of a traditional lefty. Like, what's the term? 90s liberal, I think is what a lot of people have been calling it. It's like you still believe in a lot of left-leaning ideology, but you don't believe in the extreme leftist shit these days. But obviously only expand about what you want. But thank you for the generosity, man. Much appreciated. They call him Uncle Tom's already. Oh yeah, they call him all a bunch of shit. Wokes don't have a hobby, they have an ideology, and their ideology is directed by their genitals. Yes, it is. You are correct. Alright. People, one more comment, and then we'll actually get into get into more of this. And funny you bring up Serb, Gene Stealer. I eat Gene Stealer ass because I actually have something I want to showcase. But anyway, people like Bits and Serb are against male-only Space Marines because they don't believe there's a difference between male and female, and it goes against a trans ideology. Again, personally, I don't think... Like, I think that's what they pretend, and that's what they've convinced themselves. But I think on a fundamental level, people like Bits, people like Serb, and a lot of others of their ilk, I think they genuinely understand the truth that there is male and there is female, and anything that is outside of those is mental disease. Like, if you're, like, non-binary, this is the most extreme political opinion I'll ever share, but I stand by it. And I don't even consider this extreme, but we're in the modern day. Non-binary doesn't exist. Okay, if you want to have a conversation about trans stuff, like between male and female, like transitioning between male and female, I'll have a conversation about that, right? Like, I have met a couple trans people in my life who were, male to female, or in one case, female to male. They were cool people. I personally don't believe that was legit, but... there's at least like in my mind anyway, there's more of a conversation to be had about like chemical balances and stuff between male and female transitioning. There's a conversation. And at the end of the day, that kind of thing, if you're an adult and you want to transition, it's not my place to tell you you can't. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to say it makes sense to me because it doesn't. But I don't think anything outside of that, like you do it, your life, right? It's whenever I get to the kid stuff that I get, like, really fucking, like, no. If you're under the age of 18, no. If it's between the parent, I don't even think the parent should advocate for it or allow it, but, yeah, under 18, no. I don't entertain that fucking idea. But, point is, my most extreme opinion with the trans stuff, non-binary is bullshit. It doesn't exist. Like, the two sexual organs that we have is a penis and a vagina. That's it. Those are the only two. And then they always say that, what's that psycho cope shit that they do? There's a difference between gender and sex or something like that. They say something like that. That's not true. Like, that's mental disease that they've introduced into the cultural zeitgeist. Like, decades ago, it was accepted that there's male, there's female, and everything else is mental disease. Non-binary is bullshit. Go ahead and cancel me. Go ahead and clip this. I don't care. It's mental disease. If you're trans if you're trans male to female or female to male, I think there's more of a conversation. But anything outside of male and female shit, you're crazy. You're not evil. You don't deserve to be hunted in your bed and hurt or killed or lynched or anything. But you're mentally unfit, I'll say. Like, you probably need therapy. You have gender dysphoria of a hyper kind. You need help. I have pity for that level of delusion, but it doesn't exist. There's male and then there's female. Everything else, and I've read like a list of like the other non-binary genders. There was a list out there that no longer, there used to be a website for it, but I read like 50 of them, and all of them were personality traits. It's like, these people are so brainwashed, they believe that gender is everything. It's your whole identity. Because, like, you read the non-binary stuff, and it's like, this person is, like, nice, kind, and gentle at certain times, but is angry at other times. I'm like, so a normal person? Like, it's crazy. So, I don't know. The fact that what I just said is considered, like, alt-right or something like that by a lot of lefties is, like, how sad we are nowadays, right? Like, something is just basic. But anyway, now that I've shared my hyper, alt-right beliefs, guys. Oh, God. We live in a crazy world. Let's get into Bitsy's, shitty video. God, I'm gonna be mean. I'm gonna be so fucking mean. Now, I know I'm using the open mic, like, dash for this. I don't know if I'll actually do, like, calls at the end of this. It depends on how much we get through and how tired I am. I will say this, the likelihood we make it all the way through his video is highly unlikely. Because his voice is, even at 1.5 speed, I have a feeling this is going to drag. But we'll see how much we get through. It's bits, so it's going to be a slog no matter what. Bracelet says, I'm a lefty and I say that. Hey. I don't... Wait, are you a leftist? Like, if you're lefty as in, like, you're left-leaning, that's different. But I'm assuming you're not a leftist, because if you're watching me, you're probably not. Agree, it's not political, it's based on common sense. Exactly. But there are people nowadays who will call you alt-right for basic, like, shit like that. It's insane. We live in a weird world. Bombender says, the woke cult will always invent new grievances to continue the narrative, if only way to keep their power. Oh, yeah. It's how they keep their movement going, right? What fuels the fire of that engine is indignancy and rage at an oppressive force, right? If you conquer the oppressive force, or the oppressive action isn't actually happening or isn't real, then what are you fighting for? So they have to keep going. Alright. So, this is the video from Bitshammer. Bitshammer, as I said at the beginning of the stream, he is a hyper-leftist. He is the messiah of the Wokehammer crowd. He has been around for... In terms of how he is right now, where he's the constant, like, fall guy for, like, the Wokehammer crowd, like, they always message him when they need help, and they're getting their asses handed to them in any argument. But, he's been around for a while. He is a regular misogynist and hater of women. He's also a racist. He has a few other things as well. The guy is generally an unlikable douchebag. If I had to surmise his creation, he is what happens when you take a Reddit mod, a Discord mod, and a brainwashed lefty, and you fuse them together. That's what happens when you get bits. Also throw in about, like, 500 pounds of lard. Just for good measure, you know? But, yeah, he decided to recently release a video addressing the Custodes situation. A whole month late, but better late than never, I suppose. Now, what immediately caught my eye is, if you go to his channel page, all his other videos are gone now. Now, if you aren't familiar with this individual, you would assume, oh, is this his first video? Is this his first, like, coverage and stuff? No. This is not Bitshammer's first video. In fact, this is, I think, his 4th or 5th that I'm aware of. His first video ever was addressing Femstodes. Sorry, female space marines. He was making a video arguing for them. That video got, I want to say, 1.3K after its lifespan, and it was heavily disliked. And it had a bunch of stuff going on with the video. Like, he was crediting a random person for making the thumbnail, and the thumbnail was just a screenshot from the Astartes animation and a couple lines of text. But he was crediting thumbnail art to someone who didn't make Astartes. It was like, that was... The video itself was full of absolute fucking bullshit, but the guy, I don't know how his brain works. Obviously, it doesn't work very well, but the fact that he was crediting thumbnail artist, and it was some rando friend of his who took a screenshot from the Astartes animation and put text over it. Truly an artist of our time. Mr. H from Two Stupid Dogs. At Asmogan, a question related to Space Marine 2. What are the chances that it won't contain wokeness despite the writer in ESG? So far, I'm not seeing anything woke in the trailers. I haven't seen anything woke from the trailers either. The one thing I will say, the anti-woke crowd, outside of myself, I don't really subscribe to this, but to give it a fair shake, a lot of people who are very anti-woke have been pointing to the fact that in the PvE trailer co-op thing, it was showcasing, like, an Asian Ultramarine, a black Ultramarine, basically multiracial. Personally, I don't mind that. I don't care that too much. In the lore, it's a little bit... inconsistent with how it handles it. There is a thing in the lore where a given aspirant will take on the physical features of their Primarch, but it's not like one-to-one. And it never really has been in the lore, to be fair. So I'm not against the... Like, don't get me wrong. Do I think that they're doing it for wokeness? Yes, I do. But is it if that's the worst it gets? If in the new Space Marine 2 game, the worst we get is the UN of Ultramarines, I think we're fine. But personally, I'm not getting the... I do think there is going to be actual more deeper wokeness in the game. So until I'm proven wrong, I'm not getting the game. I'm also not getting the game... okay. For me, I'm sticking to I will not get the game unless a trusted reviewer I like comes out and says 3 things. 1, it's not a buggy piece of shit. 2, it's not woke as fuck. And 3, it's not over monetized to hell. Those 3 things for me, 2 of them are absolutes. Like I need, like if it's buggy, I'm not getting it. I don't care how minimally buggy. If it's buggy at all, if a AAA game, another fucking AAA game launches barely playable or just has a frequent bug enough that people are mentioning it, I'm not touching it. If it is woke at all, and again, outside of like something like multiracial Ultramarines, I already hate Ultramarines anyway, so that doesn't add much for me. So, like, if the worst we get is the UN of Ultramarines, but they actually act like Ultramarines, they actually act like Space Marines. The combat is really good, like, and the actual story of the game feels like 40K and doesn't bring up like DEI bullshit. And there isn't like some strong whammon that the Space Marines kowtow to. That's my biggest fear, by the way. That's where I think the wokeness may be, is because everyone remembers Lieutenant Mira from the first game, right? Like that character, who is a really likable and believable female guardsman character. I liked her. Really cool character. I feel like they're going to have like another one in this one, but this time, not only will they likely be of a higher rank, because Mira was lieutenant, and the only reason she was in charge was everyone above her died. But that being said, she was a believable character, she was likable, and she wasn't a Mary Sue. My fear is that's going to be the avenue that they introduce a woke element to the game. Because every other element, it's like the big question is how do you add wokeness to Space Marines fighting off a Tyranid invasion? Explain that to me. Like, I can't think of any way that they could turn that woke, other than the Space Marines, Captain Titus and his group, have to interact with a Mary Sue Whammon character. And that's my fear, is that we're going to have that situation happen. Fingers crossed I'm wrong, and my worry of that is non-present. Again, I can't think of any other... I've been surprised with how wokeness gets thrown in sometimes these days. So, to be fair, I could just be like not thinking of something, but there's a likelihood it will happen. So until I see a trusted reviewer say to me, it's not woke, it's not buggy as shit, and the one thing I'm willing to lean on, depending on the form, if it's over monetized to fuck in the sense that it's not nickel and diming me for the main campaign, and I can play the multiplayer without having to fork over cash. I'm not saying like this is an excuse, it's not, but if it's just cosmetics for the shop, I think I'll be fine. I think I'll be fine. But that being said, I'm not even happy with, like, the first game, the cosmetics were achievement based, and they should be in this game as well. So that one's the more shaky pillar. But the other two, they have to be not present. No wokeness, no bugginess. I'm sick and tired of both. So if I can get past that, depending on how the monetization looks, I can work with it. So that's my stance on it. I'm still debating internally whether I should still fundamentally not play it, because no matter what, a certain percentage of the profits for the game are going to GW. But I don't know. It's one of those things where a part of me really, really wants to get it, but a part of me also wants to say that this does still factor into my boycott. So we'll have to see. Foxy Sphinx, welcome to the stream. I already done stuff for Bicky for being the moron that he is. I mean, hey, fair enough. I unsubbed from Bricky as well. Pretty much same reasons. I don't blame anybody who doesn't, because to be fair, most of Bricky's content isn't, like, a lot of his videos just, like, reviewing games, and as far as, like, politics being brought up in those videos, it's very minimal, to be fair. So I won't blame anybody who wants... He's not like he's, like, Vosh, right? It's not like his whole content is built around his political opinions. He just voices them very readily, and he is woke. But, yeah. Anyway, back to Bitsammer. So Bitsammer got rid of all of his other videos. I don't know why. I'm assuming they got disliked to hell and back. Because he does make shit content. So, to be fair, that's probably why. So, yeah. He got rid of all his other videos and has left this one up. It's an hour long. We're gonna watch it and check it out. And I'm gonna commentate over it quite thoroughly. I've already listened to about 10 to 15 minutes of it. It's very cringe, and I'm not gonna lie. The moment I get fucking tired, like I feel like my consciousness starting to go because of his fucking bullshit. I'm not gonna promise I'm gonna make it through. I'm not promising that. But we will go through it. We will respond to his points. Jonathan Echo says, I don't think it's unreasonable for chapters such legions as the Ultramarines who are so large to be multi-ethnic. I don't think that's unreasonable either. I do... for me, there's some chapters and legions that I do kind of associate with, like, certain ethnicities. Like, for example, the White Scars. Like, they're very Mongolian. So, but that being said, could there be White Scars or Black White Scars? Yeah. Is it something that I'm going to throw a fist up? No. I think that's, like, one of the things I disagreed with Arch with back in the day, because Arch made a video about the Black Ultramarine thing, right? I can't remember exactly what he said, so to be fair, it depends like on what aspect he was targeting. For me, I can agree that the inclusion of it was meant to be like, you know, a diversity thing. It's debatable on whether it was still healthy diversity when it was first done with the Ultramarines or not, and things like that. I'm overarchingly, I don't really care if a Space Marine chapter has multiracial elements. That doesn't go against lore. Again, them looking like their Primarch has always been kind of a loose thing. It's not like they're cloned of their Emperor, cloned of their Primarch when they go through the change. They do just take on elements of them, like the jawline, or some of them will have like a hair color change. But generally, they still retain an individual look to themselves. So it's perfectly reasonable to see and also with like how like the Space Marines can't really afford to be picky on that level. They're picky about male to female because there's an explanation there. It's the genetic makeup of men is like required for that growth through puberty and everything to make a Space Marine. Race-wise, there's really no thing there that in lore and in universe and out of universe that just really doesn't. So it is something I can work with. That doesn't really bother me. I do think that if they highlight it though, especially now, it's not because they're just doing natural diversity though. I would accept that argument for like people who want to point it out. And if Arch's video back when he first did that, again, it's been years, but when he first covered that, if that was the angle he approached it, is like, hey, yes, Black Space Marines within the Ultramarines could work in universe and stuff, like it makes sense. But the reason they're making a book where like the biggest character on the artwork is a black guy, is a Black Ultramarine, is because they're putting a spotlight on it for political reasons and virtue signal reasons. That I can agree with. If that's like the angle of which you want to like protest it or point out you have an issue with it, I perfectly understand. But in lore, in universe, just happenstance of there being like multiracial Space Marines within a chapter or a legion, I could see it. Geo minus, welcome to stream. I just can't see it as a natural thing after everything. It fucking sucks. Oh no, at this point, like, if they do it, no, it's probably for political reasons. Absolutely. But I'm saying, like, in a traditional sense. Like, if a character just happened to be described as darker skin tone, or some things like that. Back then, yeah. Alright, so... By the way, one thing, if you haven't caught it yet, Bitsammer is stuck in the Doge meme arc, so his character artwork and stuff is of the Doge. I feel so bad for that Shiba Inu. It's being that Shiba Inu like meme from back in the day is super popular with the left. I don't know why. It's been like a decade. You think they would evolve, but I suppose not. Gigakuma, welcome to the stream. Sup, dude? Sup to you too. All right. Without further ado, without further delay, as we've been chatting and hanging and talking about other stuff, let's jump right in to Bitshammer's The Custodes Gaslight, a measured response. And before we do, just one more time, I gotta get one more hit. Again, this is the man that calls women birthers. Bitshammer loves to call women who don't agree with him birthers. Just wanted to throw that out there. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Or to the video to begin with. Just saying. Just throwing it out there for anyone who just joined. That's who this guy is. Bitshammer is a very popular dude with the Wokehammer crowd. He's like their messiah. And he is most popular to me, and for a lot of people on the anti-woke side, for loving to call women who don't agree with him birthers. So just throwing that out there. Margaret Wood, welcome to stream. Hey, Asmo, is there any parentheses universal scenario where you would go for a pint with Hellstorm? There is one scenario I can think of. I lose a bet, and even then, it'd have to be one hell of a bet. Like it'd have to be a scenario where I was certain I was right, and it was the one rare occasion I was wrong. Like fundamentally, I would be like, all right, I bet my free afternoon to not drink with this absolute douchebag that this or this or this, and I was wrong. I'd be like, fuck. And even then, I'd get fucking sloshed. And I would have caveats, like I can wear headphones, right? Like I could put in earbuds, something to block out the noise of his whinging.
Hey, I'll tell you this, Asmogan, I hate you. You're alt-right neo-Nazi.
Another part, man.
I'll tell you this, though. It's getting really awkward at my house, watching my wife get fucked by so many men who just happen to waltz right in. It's getting really awkward, but I really trust her. I know she's being faithful.
Yeah, totally. Can I get 2 more? Oh, fuck. I lose my mind. I could even understand him even less. What fucking dialect does he speak? Drunk Endomedian? I don't know. Alright. Let me rip the band-aid off. Bitshammer's, a Custodes Gaslight, a measured response. Sorry, I really hate his voice. I'm going to let it play a little bit so you can hear his voice, and then I'm going to speed it up so you understand why.
This was not the video I initially planned to make. See, I actually planned to make a video about the Custodes change basically within the first week. But I am very poor at this whole work-life balance thing where I spend too much of my time and energy doing a day job and not enough time and energy working on anything else, to include script.
Okay, so you guys see why I'm going to speed him up, right? You see why. No one's in any confusion. Alright? Like a soy Nick Cage. Oh, don't insult Nick Cage like that. Asmo just came back from church. You're gonna have to go back to church after this one, my brother in Christ. His voice is so dull. Oh, yes. It is. I don't know why all the lefties sound like that. Like, this guy, too, by the way. Like, I've been, like, watching this situation. This guy in Praise of Shadows. This guy's a hyper-lefty. He recently attacked Wendigoon, who's another content creator. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but point is, this guy's another lefty. Listen to how he sounds.
Me with open hostility over a perceived belief that I said something awful.
Native American.
Not this guy, but the other guy. Like, they all sound like that. I don't know why.
That I can't even fully communicate it to you.
You gotta meet me on my left.
Like they all sound that nasally, like they all sound like they've been drugged. Like, they all sound like they've been hard drugged. I don't think it's a day job that makes him slow. Sounds literally like his nature to be slow. Hey, there's a reason certain people get easily brainwashed by the left. When you're a slow person, it's easy to manipulate you. Oh, good God. Alright, now, whoops, let me speed his ass up, because we're going to be here all fucking day if I don't.
Scripting videos or editing videos to the point where I had to do a new version of this video because Games Workshop did a price increase and I had to change.
By the way, how sad is it that if you put him at 1.5 times speed, he doesn't sound sped up, he sounds normal. I want that to sink in for a second. This guy sounds normal when you speed him up.
How I was addressing certain things because we're seeing different patterns from the company than they were a couple years ago. Because one of the things I try to do is I try to account for as many variables as possible when discussing certain topics such as how a company is run. So why am I still talking about the Custodes after a month? Well, at the time of recording, we're actually watching some, potentially hilarious fallout from a vocal minority of the community who swears up and down that Games Workshop is ruining everything. So,
by the way, this is a common tactic of the hyper left. They commonly say this all the time. The vocal minority. They always pose... projection is their main tool, right? Like, that's the main tool of the left. That's the main tool of Wokehammer. They project. Whatever they do all the time and excuse for themselves to do, they will say the other group do, even though there's no evidence the other group does it. So, like, for example, he calls all of us misogynists. He calls women birthers who don't agree with him. He calls all of us racists, though I have no screenshots. I'm pretty damn certain he's called certain minorities Uncle Tom and the like. So, yeah, this is the typical tool of the left. Oh, you're this thing I've deemed horrible, but I'm going to go do it to anybody who is of those groups I think you hate, and then hate on them for disagreeing with me. Because they weren't being a good black man to obey me and parrot my points. They weren't being a good woman in the kitchen doing as I say. So I'm going to call them a birther and an Uncle Tom. So this is a common tactic of people like Bits.
So they tried to run off and join Trench Crusade.
Yeah, they're the vocal minority, by the way. Like, the first of all... This is the like to dislike ratio on his video. Now keep in mind, the add-on I have to see dislikes, return to YouTube dislike, lowballs this number. It lowballs the dislikes. And it never overballs it. Like, it never gives a bigger number when the real number is lower. It only ever underballs or undershoots it. So that means this is anywhere from half the dislikes he's actually received to just a couple numbers off. So it says 126. It could be 128, 129. It could be 250. Like that it could be anywhere between those. It could be anywhere between half of the actual number to just a few digits off. So just keep that in mind, that this is not the actual number. It's a bigger number. Just dependent on whether or not it's substantially or not. The only way we'd know is if he shared the actual ratio, and let's be honest, he won't.
Now that Discord server was run by a group that was not inviting to them, got kicked out of there, and are throwing a fit. All because Games Workshop put women into the custodian guard. This honestly...
Another common tactic of the left to intellectually, despite the fact that we've told them our reasons for being against Femstodes again and again and again and again and again and again and again, common tactic is for them to ignore what we've told them and to always cartoonishly portray things incorrectly. They do this all the time. It's called lying. Like, you could give it all sorts of other names, like, oh, they're being deceptive, or they're being dishonest. Like, I just call it what it is. They're lying. Bitshammer loves to lie when it benefits his ideology, and that's pretty much every other sentence. So this is just another example of it. So the reason people have a problem, despite the fact that, again, we've said it a million times, I've said it 1,000. I've said it quite a few on video and in other places. But the reason people are against Femstodes has nothing to do with women. If people had a problem with women in 40k, there would have been a huge boycott and a huge hullabaloo when Sisters of Battle were added in 1997. People would have had a huge raging fit when Sisters of Silence got more lore and more recognition over the years. Nobody has ever had an issue with those. People would have lost their shit with the addition of several female inquisitors and female assassins, as well as notable female guard characters. There have been constant female characters added over the years that have never come with a backlash from any, whether you think they're a minority or not, Bits. There's never been a huge vocal issue with those women. Do you know why? Because they've always been lore friendly. They have been strong, powerful women that have fit the lore and had actually been additions. No, they weren't added at the sacrifice of a male faction or male characters. They weren't put along arbitrarily alongside them for political brownie points. They were added because they were cool characters that fit the lore, and they didn't need to breach the lore to add them. So that's why we never had a problem with them. The issue with Femstodes has nothing to do with the gender. It has everything to do with lore consistency and thematic consistency, which they breach both. Now, there's a lot of discussion on the fact that it never said anywhere explicitly females couldn't be Custodes. No, but it always said that they were all male. And though it didn't say in black and white they couldn't be a thing like they did with Astartes, it's always been understood that the process to make a Custode is more complicated, and that they are related processes. They aren't directly as in like they're the same process in two variations. No, they are definitely different. But there's a similar thorough line. The idea of like how to make a Custodes and how to make an Astartes. They're not the same. We don't know the details of one versus the other, but you'd be kind of foolish to say that the Emperor created the Custodes in this crazy, wicked, different way, and then made the Astartes this crazy, wicked, different way, and he didn't use any of the same ideas. I'm sorry, like, that just doesn't make sense to me. So, there's, hell, the Thunder Warriors process to make Thunder Warriors is somewhat related to the Astartes. It's just by what amount. Regardless, the Custodes, I think, has always been pretty key to showcase that it has been a more complicated process. So, when Space Marines were designed to not be female, why does it make any more sense that a more complicated, more directly designed being like a custodian by the Emperor would somehow be more plausibly female? Like, thematic and logical consistency within the setting of 40k, that doesn't make any sense. Additionally, when it comes to the clear and blatant motivations behind this retcon, the clear motivation is politics. DEI, diversity, woke, placation. That's the clear motivation behind this change. That's the one thing you never hear from leftists whenever it comes to this topic. They'll defend female Custodes, left and right. They'll go ham. They'll go crazy. They will scream to high heaven that you're just a misogynist, you're just a sexist, blah, blah. But you know what you never hear them say? How this is a good thing. How does this benefit the setting? How does this add to 40k?
Oh, because it adds diversity.
We already had women. We had a shit ton of them.
Well, it adds super powerful women on the level of Astartes.
Have you ever heard of the Sisters of Silence? No, you haven't. You're a tourist. You're not a real fan. But, rhetorically, have you ever heard of Sisters of Silence?
Oh, well, they're not the same thing.
Correct. They're better. They're more interesting. They're more unique. They're more badass. They never have a valid virtue to this retcon/addition. It's not an addition, it's a retcon. And it's a shit one. The other major problem people have with it, on top of the clear political pandering and the fact that it's a shit change that does go against established lore and the themes of the Custodes in 40k, the other problem people had with it is how GW has handled it. Let's be honest. Half of the people who have lost their shit about this, like, I still lost my shit about it before they did this, but half the people who are like anti-Wokehammer and anti-Femstodes, half of the people who are vocal as hell about it got set off, not by the simple change, but by the fact that, what did GW say to add it? What did GW look us in the eye and say? there have always been female Custodes. Since the first of the 10,000, there have always been female Custodes. They literally lied to us. And there's been so much cope around that, by the way, in defenses by Wokehammer. I don't know if Bits mentions it, but the common defense of it is, oh, you guys say that they're lying and that they're gaslighting. They're not doing that. Don't you understand what a retcon is? But here's the thing. They didn't say that in terms of an in-universe representation. People asked them that from a meta perspective. People asked them on Twitter as hobbyists, why did you add female Custodes? That's what they were asked. They weren't asked in universe, what's your explanation for this? No. Oh, have a good one, John B. Have a good night, man. Talk to you later. Go kick ass. You too, my brother. People ask them from a meta perspective, why did you, the IP holders, add this? What is the real world reason? And their response to that question was, there have always been female Custodes. The woke constantly pretend that the question asked was from an in-universe perspective. They were asked from a meta perspective. And they said, from a meta perspective, there have always been female Custodes. IRL, there have always been female Custodes. That's how they responded to it. So they gaslit and they lied. So your cope doesn't change that. It was to spread propaganda? Oh yeah, that was the reason. Obviously they're not going to say that. They're not going to admit that. Alright, let's keep going.
Watching just the complete clown show that has been that part of the online community around Warhammer has been.
Oh look, it's Bitshammers and his friends.
The complete clown show that has been that part of.
Oh, look at Bitsy showing he's showing a selfie. Mad respect to you, brother. You wear that clown makeup, brother. You rock it, girl.
The online community around Warhammer.
Hey, Cornet 888, watching this at 4 a.m. morning in Scotland. Hey, you're Scotland, are you? Good. I was gonna make a joke, but
All of them don't even understand Warhammer. But really, before we get too deep into all this, I'm going to be discussing things about how Game Workshop is run, and certain things that
because Bits is obviously, in the offices, right? Like he's also got at least a business degree, right? Right. You're gonna tackle from that perspective. You're not just some random Reddit, push-up anime glasses style douchebag, right? That's just gonna pretend you have some kind of informed opinion because you think so, right? Right?
an American perspective I can see that they are doing. And I clarify this, not only because clearly my voice tells you that I am not British, but
Your voice tells me that you either get zero sleep, which you should probably work on that, maybe get off Twitter for 4 hours a day, and sleep and touch grass and live like a normal human being instead of in the dungeon of wherever you live. Just throwing out ideas, creatively.
also cannot spend my time going through the trash at Nottingham to figure out why they do
That's
certain
prophetic.
things. The best I can do is try to understand from my understanding how businesses work, thanks to a couple years of business courses at college, and just a general.
A couple business courses at college? Please elaborate. When you say a couple courses, that means you left with a degree, right? Oh, hey, Nathan, you sexy son of a bitch. How you doing? Bro. Oh, I want to bring you on so bad. But you probably you probably just got up. You want tea or something. But, dude, you need to be on for this. This is so funny. And, by the way, I've sped up his voice. For anyone just joining, and for Nathan in particular, my man, this is how he sounds.
understanding of where Games Workshop is coming from and where I can best guess they are going, under the assumption that they are a business that likes to make money. Because all businesses, if they are run correctly, like to make money. Yeah.
No shit, dumbass. You know how you don't make money? Piss off a large number of your existing payers who give you that money and send them packing. Because you disrespect them in the hobby that they love. Duh.
You know, for example, businesses that
Are you sure the economics class didn't involve a man named Marx? Let's be honest. I don't think he actually took that course. I think he's lying. I'm gonna like the guy's lied about so much. Why? What reason? Like, unless he shows me the degree, unless he shows me the fucking degree, I do not believe this motherfucker did these courses. I think he's claiming to because he's appealing. He's appealing to authority. He's using that fallacy. And Nathan, I could easily hop on, make no mistake, but someone screwed up my laptop screen part, so it's still out of commission, my good dude. Aw. Sad face. I hope they fix it soon. Did you ever should throw everything built up over 40 years, cause money? Well, hold on. Like, this guy has a degree, right? Like, he's about to drop some, like, fucking mad economics knowledge on us, right? Business knowledge. We about to be educated by a lefty.
apparently do not like to make money, look at Twitter. You can see a clear difference in how companies are run. So to kind of talk about where we're going, we need to talk about how we got here. And around a month ago now, from the time of the recording of this, we had the NDA on the Custodes Codex lifted on that Saturday, and then we got news that there were women in the Codex. Not the Sisters of Silence that everybody would expect, of course, but female custodians. And one of the ones who has been among the most interesting has been, of course, the 2-page story for Kesh, where we find out that, some people play the blood games quietly and sneakily, and some people like Kesh.
Wait, did I have a brain fart? Did he go into business at all with that? Like he said, like I'm completely armored with like business knowledge. I took a couple courses at college. I know more than like the rest of you.
Well, to kind of talk about where we're going, we need to talk about how we got here. And around a month ago now, from the time of the recording, money. Because all businesses, if they are run correctly, like to make money. For example, businesses that apparently do not like to make money, look at Twitter. You can see a clear difference in how companies are run.
So no. So basically what he's doing here is he's establishing he has authority because he's appealing to he's providing an appeal to authority fallacy. Okay, that's what he's trying to pull. And to prevent and to actually dodge directly showcasing it immediately after establishing that, he then immediately says, but before we get into me showcasing it, allow me to puff this video up with a bunch of shenanigery to the point that you're probably going to forget I established that point, and then I'm never going to like provide a perspective from a educated perspective on business. I have a feeling we're never going to get back around to that point.
So, to kind of talk about where we're going, we need to talk about how we got here.
Oh, yeah, he thinks he's a better business
around
than
a month
Musk.
ago now, from the time of the recording of this, we had the NDA on the Custodes Codex lifted on that.
To be fair, I do think Twitter is a bit of a, not a shit show, but it's got issues right now for sure. I think it's a better place now than it used to be. All the left constantly talk about how bad it is now, but that's because that they are no longer have that, like, their hug box. It's no longer a glass box where all their shits, bounce back at them. But I will agree that there are some issues with Twitter right now. I just don't think any of the issues are on the front of the user. I think it's all issues in terms of what Musk is going to be able to do with it.
Saturday, and then we got news that there were women in the Codex. Not the Sisters of Silence that everybody would expect, of course, but female custodians. And one of the ones who has been among the most interesting has been, of course, the 2-page story for Kesh, where we find out that, some people play the blood games quietly and sneakily, and some people like Kesh.
The sad thing is that this meme is kind of to make fun of Kesh. Like to introduce Kesh, they had Kesh basically try and sneak a fucking nuke into the Imperial Palace for the Blood Games. Which, by the way, a little bit of 40k lore for those who don't know what the Blood Games are, if you're newer to the hobby. Quick rundown, the Blood Games are a game played by the Custodes where they constantly test their own defenses. So it's how the Custodians constantly adapt and reinforce the protections around the Emperor and the Imperial Palace, as they'll instigate a blood game, which is when they choose one amongst their member, sometimes multiple, I think, but generally they choose one amongst their member to be the assassin, to play the role of someone trying to hurt or destroy the Emperor, and the rest of them are to thwart the assassination attempt. Now, generally, the blood games are pretty lethal. I think they always cut it off just short of killing each other, but they're allowed to use whatever tactics they want to use. And they go really far with it, to the point of borderline actually performing the act that they're assigned to do. Like, it's not just theoretics, it's not just metaphor, it's not just... They, like, will literally try and sneak in bombs, they'll try and actually gas the place, they'll pull all sorts of, like, tough shit. Bombman, have a great stream, tough work. Alright, have a good one, Bombman, thank you for hanging out, man. Much appreciated. Have a great afternoon. Or a great day. Have a great day. Enjoy. I hope work isn't too bad. But that's the blood games in essence. Like, it's the Custodes testing themselves against each other. They're generally done, like as this meme actually shows, this is fair. The average blood games participant is usually one of them sneaks in like a one-off assassin. In Kesh's storyline, she tried to sneak in a fucking nuke. Now, I'm not saying that's like the worst story to set up, but let's be honest, the reason they did it is to make her a girl boss, right? They made her do an extreme, even compared to what the Custodes normally do, because they wanted to be like, see, check out this girl boss Custodes. She plays with the big boys. Like, that's what I got out of that. That's why they did it. So, yeah. As fun as this idea would be in a better universe, no. It's time to build a 3D printer and make your own miniatures. It is. I have 2 3D printers. I do recommend. It's really expensive, so I think everyone should get the Lego Mars Pro. Lego Mars Pro 3, I think, is probably the better one, but I could be wrong. But the ones I use, I have an Anycubic Photon Mono X 4K. I have 2 of them. It's a big printer with a big build plate. They're very expensive and easy to damage, though. But that being said, they're also... You can make bigger stuff with them. Like, I really like them. They just take a little bit more maintenance. They all 3D printers take maintenance, especially if they're SLA. They take a lot of it. You gotta keep them out of sunlight, any kind of sunlight if you can. There's lots of stuff you gotta do with it. But if you do it and take care of it well, it'll take care of you, and you'll have a literal factory in your house to build minis.
Go for the most over-the-top answer possible. And, I enjoy it because that flair for the dramatic is an interesting...
I'm sure you enjoyed it.
Oh my god, the muscle mommies. The muscle mommy, she's so cool. She snuck in a nuke to blow up the Emperor. Oh.
Character trait that was fun to kind of think about and would spawn a few memes of basically anything that's going wrong on Terra is apparently now her fault as part of her blood games. Gene Stealers? That must have been Kesh. The Reign of Blood? Probably Kesh. The War of the Beast? It was Kesh. Now, obviously, we don't have any...
Wait, what?
Interesting character trait that was fun to kind of think about and would spawn a few memes of basically anything that's going wrong on Terra is apparently now her fault as part of her blood games. Gene Stealers? That must have been Kesh. The Reign of Blood? Probably Kesh. The War of the Beast? It was Kesh. Now, obviously, we don't have any true fluff that backs this up. It's fun, kind of poke fun at things. But
if you like the change, I guess it would be. Most of the people pointing that kind of stuff out, it's to mock the change, right? They're not doing it in good fun. A lot of people are doing that because it's a genuine shit lore. Wait, do you think people are just doing those kind of jokes just in good fun and they actually like Kesh? Really, Bitsy? Are you that blind? Okay. Gunner NWP, how you doing? Thoughts on Trench Crusade ignoring the politics, just the setting? Just the setting. It's got a lot of potential. It's really good, very grimdark, very, very grimdark. I love the grimdark. Also the setting idea with it's very 40k in some ways, especially with like how I saw Arch's lore video like elaborating upon like the Crusaders and like the Knights and the Knights Templar who have their skin filleted off to become nice, and like scriptures written on it on both sides, the inside of the skin and off it. Like all that's super fucking like that's metal as fuck. I really love it. Sad thing is But sticking to your question, setting wise, it looks really, really awesome. Which is why, tragically, I have lost all interest because I know the creators are probably going to add in a rainbow flag here and there for dumb reasons. Oh well.
This had some unexpected ripples from the community. You see, we got people responding to this who were calling Custodes a kind of space marine, which was unusual because anybody who's been in the community longer than a week can tell just by looking at the models they are not space marines.
Okay. So, I'm not agreeing with Bitshammer here. I will denote, though, that he's focusing on the few people who commented on the situation, like, for example, Count Dankula, not Sargon. Sargon's a little bit informed anyway. But a good number of people talked about this situation who are very unfamiliar with 40k. A lot of commentary channels on YouTube, a lot of like anti-woke channels, and I will agree to the extent of there was a lot of people talking about this from that angle of things that didn't know anything about 40k, and it was cringe. Like quite a few people who talked about this situation with the Femstodes situation, though I appreciate them siding with us true fans and trying to back us up with our issues, they did present one problem when they did that, and that's they did muddy the waters so people like Bits could pull what they're pulling now, which is he's conflating everyone who has an issue with this as being uninformed, unfamiliar, like at best newbies to 40k who don't know that there's a difference between a Space Marine and a Custodes, even though we do know that, you asshole. But he's pretending that the majority of what he believes to be the vocal minority are like those people, like the commentators and stuff on YouTube who were talking about the situation, and we're constantly conflating Custodes with Space Marines. Again, I'm not agreeing with him necessarily. I'm agreeing on the fundamental idea that was an issue, though, that caused him to have this bullshit. Spooky Heathen, have a good night. Thank you for hanging out, man. Much appreciated. Sleep well. See, we're only 4 minutes in, and fucking Bitshammer's voice is sending people to work or putting them to have to sleep. Oh, good God. They're almost a different species. Very, very much. I still stand by that lore-wise and theme-wise, it's pretty clear that the process to make Thunder Warriors is directly related to the process that made Custodes, and thus Astartes is directly connected to the process that made both of those. Like, I don't think the processes are so different on every fundamental level that there's no similarity between a Custodes and Astartes, but because we don't know the details of both processes, it's hard to say what's the level of thorough-through. Like, what amount of Custodes, of the process to make a Custodes, was transferred to the process of making Astartes. That's not elaborated in the lore, but I would argue that it is implied that those processes are directly related. Do they all stem from the same process? Do they all have just a couple things in similar? Or are they very, very different with one or two thorough-throughs? But for me, I've always interpreted it, and it's never been said to the contrary or in favor of, but it's always been implied, in my opinion, that the processes are somehow related. Just the argument to me comes down to how much. Like, how different is the processes? We already know they have to be drastically different, but at their foundation, how much is there similar to the process that made one that connects to the other? I think there is a connection. It's just how much.
No, the issue with the Codex wasn't the meager 4 detachments that it got, or that Sisters of Silence did not get any new unit options.
No, those were also major problems. They did unfortunately get drowned out by this, but that's because, despite what your vocal minority constantly say, Bitsy, this is a big issue. That's why people latch onto this over those other blatant issues. Despite the fact that most of us did have a huge issue with the lack of Sisters of Silence getting pushed. In fact, that's part of the problem. That's what added to the frustration with female Custodes, is it does come in direct correlation with the fact that we still have very few Sisters of Silence. And yet, in spite of them and not giving us more of them, we get a Custodes with a vagina. Because fuck Sisters of Silence. I like what he's doing here. He's acting like that's disconnected, and like those issues are like self-contained, and they don't have anything in relation to this one. Now, to be fair, the rules of the detachment issue, that is disconnected. But Sisters of Silence not getting anything new. I wonder if that had, like, enhanced the rage in relation to Femstodes. I wonder if people got pissed off more because we got less of the actual existing female-centric faction. You asshole. I wonder.
Or model kits in general. Or that Games Workshop's been beating the edition with a Nerf hammer for the most part. No, that whole idea that women could be Custodes was their issue. And this was addressed even further by them claiming that the community...
The issue was not, oh, females could be Custodes. That is part of it. The issue was that they were made that way with no explanation, no build-up. We were gaslit and lied to about it. And on top of all of those things, it was in spite of the fact that we have already existing female factions. On top of that, also, they have always been referred to as a brotherhood, always been showcased to be all-male, always been referred to as a all-male faction like the Astartes. It has always been that way. And again, the change was not justified, built up to, and was not given proper explanation. All of those factors, in connection with the fact that we still aren't getting more Sisters of Battle and Sisters of Silence, pisses people right the fuck off. Again, all of this has been said to the Wokehammer crowd like a fucking million times. Birthers of Battle, Asmogan, get it right. Yes, I do get it. Because anyone else just joining, Bitshammer likes to call women birthers. Just saying. Just so you know who's fighting for the women. Birthers of Battle. Oh god, how much you want to bet he's got a tattoo of that on his ass? One of the reasons why they are all male is because they are a 40k version of companions of Alexander the Great. I don't know, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So yeah, that's actually part of like the issue with like the thematic break with it as well.
Account on Twitter was gaslighting everybody. Why? Because apparently none of them know how retcons work. You see,
Here we go.
when a company, actually, when someone who runs an IP or writes books or, generally...
And again, I've already debunked this, what he's trying to do here. What he's pretending here is that this retcon was explained in context of in-universe. Except the problem is people are calling them liars because they said on Twitter, in response to people asking meta-wise, not in-universe, not, in-universe, how is this going? No. Why did you, the IP holders, Games Workshop, the creators, add female Custodes? They weren't asked, why are they existing in the universe now? They were asked, why did you add them? And their response to those people asking, why did you, IRL, real world creators and IP holders, why did you add female Custodes? And they said they have always been there in response to IRL questions. Not in universe, IRL. You know that, Bitshammer, because you were responding to those people. I saw you getting in the trenches about that. You've seen this. So what you are doing here is being intellectually dishonest and lying.
has a creative universe, gives you information that changes how you perceive that universe. It creates what is called retroactive continuity, or a retcon, telling you that some Custodes are women under all that gold armor, does not mean that the models we have right now were sculpted with the intent to be women. It does not mean that we have books or the...
No. Them telling us that's what the case is why we have an issue. That's gaslighting, that's lying. Like you're doing right now.
Custodes are women. What it means is that as far as the setting is concerned, there have always been women there. It doesn't mean that what we have in reality reflects that, because it obviously doesn't. Games Workshop isn't lying to us and saying,
yes, they are.
Women have always existed in the model range.
Yes, they are.
Nor are they saying that women Custodes have always been leading...
Yes, they are. Can we get a lie counter for this guy? We're at like 20 lies already.
Books or anything else. So, of course, with gaslighting comes, we also got claims that Amazon was really false, because there's this persistent belief going back literally decades that Games Workshop's about to go under.
Cancer X, I had an Anycubic Mono X first and not bad. I switched to an Lego and am extremely happy with the change. I don't really like my Anycubics, but I don't know, maybe I'll get a Lego to see how it differs.
in any possible moment, and that some company like Hasbro or apparently Amazon is going to swoop in and buy them out, to the fact that where people actually believe that Games Workshop is always trying to devalue itself somehow to be bought out. Not only is this ridiculous, because that is not how companies work. A properly run company, especially one that's publicly traded, is always trying to increase its value, which makes it more valuable when it is bought out.
Hey, how do we increase our value? Sips tea, laced with cocaine.
I know. Let's piss everybody off.
Our stocks will skyrocket.
And a company like Amazon doesn't have the ability, just by signing a contract saying that they are going to pitch a show, not even a contract that says they are currently making a show, just that they are pitching a show and have rights to work with Games Workshop's IP and with the company to create this pitch, doesn't give them any leverage to control how Games Workshop does it. Even if
No, what did give them the leverage apparently was that Henry Cavill announced it too early. And because of that, during negotiations, that gave Amazon a huge bit of control. He would know this if he had looked into this at all. He did not. If you couldn't tell by how dumb he is.
if they did get a show, they weren't going to have the rights to do so. We were talking about Games Workshop. They are notoriously stingy with how the IP works. They have been very good about keeping companies that were sometimes larger than them, to include publishing companies. Besides, something that people are overlooking.
Very good? What?
Or maybe are not aware of, is that we have a minimum 6 months between when a book is set to publish and when it is released. Honestly, after COVID, I would actually probably put it closer to 9 months. This book would have been sent off to publishing before Amazon even approached them about potentially making a show. I'm sorry, anybody who thinks that we magically have a situation where Amazon is going to produce a show right now is probably mistaken. Honestly, most of the codexes we're getting right now were probably finished or being finished when the edition launched at the latest. It's entirely possible Games Workshop had all these codexes done before the edition, which would honestly explain a lot, but we'll have to kind of keep watching that as we go and figure that one out. Now, of course, there is one more claim that has been coming out of the woodwork, and that is that Vanguard or BlackRock or sometimes who knows who else, investment company
Oh, I love this fucking point. Oh, I'll let him say it, then I'll squash him.
Is somehow trying to force DEI practices on Games Workshop. And if you've ever even heard of the word stock market, that should sound pretty stupid to you. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is just a gross misunderstanding.
Okay, so actually, no. I'm gonna let him really put his foot in his mouth there.
Understanding of how stocks work. In short, a stock is a promissory note.
Please show me bits where your stocks, please.
A company asks for money in exchange for dividends that will be paid in the future.
All right, he's already getting it wrong.
This is done to give the company a certain amount of capital going into either.
Because what he's posing, listen, I'll let him repeat himself.
In the future. A company asks for money in exchange for dividends that will be paid in the future.
Now, I'm being uncharitable here with how he's phrasing it, but he's given me no reason to be charitable, that he's just not phrasing it the best. So, when a company puts out a stock, they're not asking one-to-one, give me money and I will do this thing, or give me money, it'll translate down to this. It doesn't mean one-to-one. It is a general question, and to be fair, that's probably what he means. Again, I'm being very uncharitable with how he's phrasing it, but... fucking ad block. No, I won't give you money. But generally, it is asking people, hey, give us money, so, down the lane, we project this many profits, we will hit this goal, you funded us, so then we will give you, we will pay you for those shares of investment that you gave. That's the general idea of what stocks are. It's all right. Again, to be fair, I'm being uncharitable with his exact wording.
Future. This is done to give the company a certain amount of capital going into either launching itself, because some companies will, open stock trading early on, or before it starts to expand. And Games Workshop has been
not well. I'll be fair to him there. Most of the time, that first scenario he established is true. When a company is trying to start up, it'll put stocks up. And then with those initial investments due to the stock investments, they can then obviously get the company off the ground. They now have funding. They have ways to fund their projects, fund their product, and then sell it. And then from there, boom. Nathan says, to be quite honest, Bitshammer doesn't bother me because I don't regard him. But ever since he calls biological women birthers like it's some kind of slur to be natural, instilled in me an eternal vitriol. That's pretty much the same as me, Nathan. You know what? We're on the same wavelength. Yeah, that's a pretty similar reason why I hate him. And for anyone who needs evidence of it, this is a screenshot. Bitshammer calling a woman who disagreed or dared to disagree with him a birther multiple times.
On the stock market in England since 1994. 30 years it has been on the stock market. Games Workshop is not being mishandled by external companies. Its biggest shareholders are investment firms that build portfolios. That's right, they are just a stock among a group of stocks that is used because they have a slow but steady rate of growth recent years.
I love how he's conveniently leaving out that amongst the 3 biggest shareholders, 2 of which, when combined, have equal to slightly above what their biggest shareholder has for a percentage. 2 of them are hyper left-leaning groups that have both declared that they must force behaviors in favor of DEI initiatives and diversity inclusion bullshit.
Years it's been a little bit higher, which has caused the stocks to spike in value before coming back down again. That sort of result is fairly normal coming out of COVID. A lot of companies have had similar results. The thing is that unless a company owns a majority of the shares in stocks, they don't have control of basically anything. Now, they could...
Now, here's where I'm going to squash him and squash everybody else who's retarded in regards to this issue. Because I'm going to be brutal here. So many people have been dumb about this, and I'm so fucking tired of it. Alright, so everybody who keeps saying the line, oh, well, BlackRock and Vanguard, they don't own majority shares. They only own like 10%. Here's the thing, dumbasses. That 10% incongruency, that's 10% of a company where the remaining 90%, well, let's say 80%, because Bally Gifford owns another 10%, the rest of that 80% is owned amongst hundreds of thousands of people and groups who have invested in 40K and their stocks. Which means that's a shit ton, a cacophony of voices spread out amongst, again, one guy here owns 100 shares, one guy here owns 1,000 shares, one guy here owns 50 shares. That's thousands and thousands and thousands of stockholders, all giving vastly different opinions, perspectives, and things that they say and requests to continue their investments towards 40K and towards the product at Games Workshop. Which means that they do, in fact, own the majority shares in regards to being able to voice in a single voice their desires. The whole point of this shareholder statistics is to show quote unquote substantial shareholdings. These are their top shareholders. These are the people who do own, as singular groups, the biggest percentage. These are the top dogs. Yes, they don't own the majority shares, but that doesn't mean they don't get a controlling voice, because they do, in essence, because they are a single voice with the majority shares in regards to a single group. The rest of those shares is split amongst hundreds of thousands of people. Careful, I was going, you might be a conspiracy theorist. So the point of that is they do have a influential voice. Everybody pretending that they don't because they don't own, as a single group, 80% of the shares is retarded. They own majority shares in regards to being a single group with a single perspective being shoved into Games Workshop's face. They are the biggest shareholders, the biggest individual shareholders. Now, these people who constantly run this disingenuous bullshit defense would have a point if another group owned like 40%. Like, let's say Bally Gifford, who own 11% on their own. They're the biggest shareholder. Let's pretend that they were hyper right-leaning and they owned 80%. People would have a point in saying, hey, BlackRock and Vanguard, they don't got any influence over 40K. They can't possibly influence the company. They only own 10% collectively. You would have a point if someone else, as a single group or individual with a single voice, owned more shares than they do. Bally Gifford only owns a percentage more than they do collectively. Meaning, Bally Gifford, the biggest shareholder outside of BlackRock and Vanguard, has equal voice to BlackRock and Vanguard, who both are DEI pushing nutjob groups that have said in the past things like you must force behaviors. So this retardation, this pretending that BlackRock and Vanguard can't possibly have anything to do with the wokeness, is all cope. You would have a point if there was a single shareholder who owned 80%, or even 60%, or hell, even 20% versus their 10%. They are the biggest single shareholders. BlackRock and Vanguard as groups are the single biggest shareholders next to Bally Gifford. And thing is, I've looked into Bally Gifford. They're a UK, they're basically the UK equivalent to BlackRock in terms of size, in terms of what they do as a company. I haven't seen any evidence that they're woke or anti-woke or anything in between. I can't really tell, but they seem to be in the same line of what BlackRock is. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were also pushing for woke initiatives, because they, like a lot of shareholder and stock traders and stuff like that, are convinced that that somehow adds value to a company, even though the contrary is being proven every fucking day. It's not code from this guy. He's just lying. No, he's lying. He's lying. But I have met people on our side of things, the anti-woke crowd, who have said this shit like, oh, well, it can't really be BlackRock or Vanguard. They don't own majority shares. Yes, they do. As individual groups, they do. The whole point of this list right here is to show the biggest shareholders. They are at position 2 and 3. There is no one bigger than Bally Gifford. And again, you add the percentages of BlackRock and Vanguard as woke-pushing ideological groups, they have equal shares to Bally Gifford. Actually, they have a little bit more than Bally Gifford does. So they are equal in size collectively, just those two groups, as the biggest shareholder. So they do have the biggest voice. Everyone pretending, anti-woke or woke, that they somehow don't have a say because they only own, again, they always put it like, oh, they only own 10%. They only own 10%. That's not a majority share. That's because the rest of the 80% outside of them and Bally Gifford is owned by like hundreds of thousands of people. That's a cacophony of voices. None of those voices individually have as much sway or power as they do. You have to be a brain-dead retard not to realize that this single group own the fucking company in terms of having the biggest shares. They have the biggest voice because they have the highest percentage of ownership. That's basic reasoning. That's not, you don't even need to be a fucking like statistics guy. You don't even need to be a stock trader to understand this. It's basic deduction. Who has the biggest voice in terms of a company? The shareholders. Who has the highest percentage of shares? That's the people who have the biggest say as individual groups over that company. And the top 3, by GW's own admission, is Bally Gifford, BlackRock, and Vanguard. The people making the argument that they don't own a majority share, therefore they don't have any influence, would only have a fucking point if there was a shareholder that owned 20%. 30%, 40%. If there was a single shareholder who owned way more than they did collectively, then they would have a point. No one owns more by any substantial margin in terms of shares over GW than BlackRock and Vanguard. Yeah, exactly. Archmagos for Dr. Sethrin. Thank you. Basic math. 10% speaking with one voice are more influential than 90% with thousands of opinions. Exactly. It's basic math and it's basic reasoning. You don't need to be a stock trader to understand that. So this cope and lie by people, again, on both sides. There are anti-woke people who have tried to make this defense and point about BlackRock and Vanguard. And they're just wrong. It's cope. It's idiocy. Hey, Wednesday, welcome to stream. It's basic reasoning. Yeah. So yeah, he's lying.
team up together and try to leverage support. But even if you put BlackRock and Vanguard together, they don't have enough control over the shares to be able to leverage anything.
You put them together, they have the biggest shares. They have the majority control over any other group.
Basically, they get the same rights
Even
any
Bally
other
Gifford.
stockholder does. They get to vote on board members and CEO, and they get paid dividends, and that's about it most of the time. Now, there may be situations where they get votes on things like stock splits or stock mergers or buybacks or a number of other things, usually involving their rights as stockholders. But when it comes to the day-to-day management of the company, that's not what they're doing. Companies like BlackRock and Vanguard buy stocks based on their performance, but they also buy stocks based on specific other attributes, which is where the diversity, equity, and
Oh, okay. He's going to admit it. I was about to say, and you're not going to admit what that motivation is. Okay, he's going to admit it.
come in at. They want companies that meet certain additional metrics on their own before they buy stocks from them. That's it. And they're usually
All right, I'm going to give Bitshammer the first bit of credit I've given all day long. He at least admitted it.
not buying the stocks directly from the companies. They're buying them on the open stock market, which means they're probably buying them from other people who already own those stocks. This is just generally how the stock market works. This isn't a conspiracy, I'm sorry. There isn't some woke rogue agent trying to force down the value of Games Workshop, which of course brings us back to...
Wait, what?
This is just generally how the stock market works. This isn't a conspiracy, I'm sorry. There isn't some woke rogue agent trying to force down the value of Games Workshop, which of course...
That's not the... What? That's not even the... First of all, it's not a conspiracy. Well, that one is. Wait, what? You retard. He doesn't even realize what he's arguing against. That's not what people are saying when they point out the BlackRock and Vanguard, you retard. Hey guys, I'm speaking as an authority here, as I took multiple courses in college for business, so clearly I know more than what I'm talking about than you do, and I can't do basic math and realize 10% of a company with one voice versus 90% of thousands of individual voices and opinions has more control and sway over a company. I can't do that basic math, and also I don't even realize what I'm arguing against because I just stated a theory that people aren't complaining about. People, I gotta listen to that again.
already own those stocks. This is just generally how the stock market works. This isn't a conspiracy, I'm sorry. There isn't some woke rogue agent trying to force down the value of Games Workshop, which of course brings us...
That's not what people are thinking. The motivation isn't to drive down the value. Who's saying that? That's the end result. But that's not the goal. I don't think BlackRock and Vanguard want to push DEI and lose money at the same time. I think they can have their cake and eat it too. Their goal is to force DEI and inclusion into things to shift culture and to control people and manipulate people. That's absolutely their goal, but they would absolutely love to make money while doing so. No one is saying that their goal is to drive down the price. I mean, that has been a theory for some people, for, GW trying for like Hasbro and stuff to try and buy the company for the cheap, but that's not what people are saying at all in regards to what you're fucking saying, you retard. What are you talking about? Is he on drugs? You wild man, I couldn't listen to it. I'd rather eat lead paint than listen to his pseudo-intellectual drivel. Oh god, I'm looking at a lead paint tin right now. I'm looking at it right now. Like, holy crap. Like, my guy. That would be a lot less fucking painful than listening to his fucking idiocy. Also, remember what he said. Like, he acted so high and mighty. Like, he acted so high and mighty going in this. Like, I have to explain this basic, like, stocks and stuff to people who clearly don't understand and have this conspiracy theory. Goes into it, doesn't even realize how stupid he is. Holy crap. I'm just impressed.
back to what's all this hubbub over place? Well, it's the thing that I wish would stop. It's woke spotting. It is an attempt by people who don't like specific changes to tar those changes with a brush, in this case, calling it woke or calling
Okay. Bitshammer, we both know. Okay, so what he's doing here is he's continuing to lie. He's continuing to lie. He's about to claim, or is in the middle of claiming, that what people are doing is adding the motivation of wokeness onto this, and he's claiming that isn't the motivation. Like, oh, they're not trying to appeal to us wokies. They aren't trying to appeal to our ideology, when that's blatantly why they're doing it and what they're doing. Especially with the latest updates, which have happened before this fucking video you made, which trash video. But before this video was even made, the authors came out and publicly pointed out to their own books where they're adding trans characters, they're adding a bunch of further DEI bullshit to their current works that they're currently working on. Oh my god. Tying everything with the same brush, self-awareness much? I know.
calling it DEI, or forced representation, or who knows what other random nonsense is going to come out of their backside next. Basically, what they want to do is they want to claim ownership of an IP, one that they may not even participate with. Let's be honest here, if you're confusing Custodes for Space Marines, your involvement with Warhammer is not very deep.
I agree, but here's the thing. That's not the majority of the people who have an issue with this, you retarded liar. You're pretending that that's the majority of people. That's just a couple content creators out of like the anti-woke sphere on YouTube and stuff who have been calling this out. Like, a lot of them, admittedly, have no clue. Have like no clue about 40k. And it is kind of sad to see them kind of jump into this whole thing, because they do muddy the waters to the point that Bitsy here can pretend that that's the majority of us who have an issue with it. But the majority of us who have an issue with it have been playing 40k for years, who are fans of 40k, who have been reading the books, invested in the lore on some level for years. He's trying to conflate it. So, oh god, what a dishonest fucking hack.
And that's before we get to the fact that a lot of the accounts that are posting these things are ones who don't talk about the game, they don't talk about the rules of the game, they don't talk about the background setting very much, unless it's to try to browbeat somebody else about how...
Excuse me? You dishonest hack?
Female Space Marine.
Say that again?
Before we get to the fact that a lot of the accounts that are posting these things are ones who don't talk about the game, they don't talk about the rules of the game, they don't talk about the background setting very much, unless it's to try to browbeat somebody else about how female Space Marines have never existed in the lore, some other thing where they were trying to argue against whatever the change they don't like. No, basically they just don't participate unless it's to try to...
Liar! Ooh, you a liar! Why are you lying? You lying whore. You hear that? I don't collect you guys. I don't care about you guys. I don't play with you guys in the tabletop. Says this fat fucking retard. Oh my fucking god. Buy a mirror, you fucking hack. Which authors? Mike Green, I think, is one of them. Is that his name, Mike Green? Self-awareness. I know, right? Oh my fucking god. As said prior, the sock just had... The sock just? What? Had a ounce of good faith. Even the Custodes Astartes conflation wouldn't be an issue, as it's an in-universe thing. Burning a Prospero, page 10 of Legions of War booklet. Wait, as said prior, if the sock just... What's sock just? If the sock just... What... Can you explain... Andeli 3025, can you explain what sock just is? But a conflation wouldn't be an issue, as it's an in-universe thing. Burning a Prospero, page 10 of Legions at the War booklet. I mean, I outside of like the sock just thing, because I'm not sure what that is, but I think I understand what, the rest of it anyway, of what you're saying. The conflation, though, let's be honest, meta-wise for the game, a lot of the people who have been, like, I say a lot, I almost sound like Bitsy when I say that, but a chunk of the people who have covered this outside of the actual 40k sphere, like me or Arch or Wheezy, who are actually familiar with the lore, a lot of them. Oh, it's an old term. Oh, okay, 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 okay. I'm not used to that term. I'm used to just wokey these days, or SJW is like the oldest term I know. But yeah, like outside of like me, Arch, Wheezy, a couple of other people who are or 40k fans who have covered this, like people like Dankula. As much as I love Dankula, he's not like super into it with 40k. He's familiar with it in a very broad sense, but like when he covered it, like he also kind of made the conflation issue between Custodes and Astartes. And yes, I know in universe it has happened on occasion where there's been certain occasions where that conflation has occurred. But we are talking from the perspective of like the fan base and like the players and the people who enjoy 40k as we're talking meta wise. Where we're not talking necessarily in universe or like that kind of thing. The conflation outside of it has definitely been from people who are less familiar. The thing is Bitsy here is full of shit. Because he's conflating that those few people, those few creators here and there, like side scrollers or Dankula or one or two other creators on YouTube who have covered it, who are anti-woke, and we're covering it from that perspective, who aren't as familiar with the in-universe, who made that accidental conflation. Those people are not the majority of the people who have an issue with it. The people who have been calling it out. The majority have been actual 40k fans who are coming from an angle of understanding the difference between Astartes and Custodes. And this disingenuous bullshit lie that Bitshammer is perpetuating is the idea that what those few content creators said represents the rest of us who have an issue with it, when the majority of us definitely understand the difference, and we still have an issue with it. Jay says, why do all these woke YouTubers have the same snotty, soft-spoken bitch method of speaking? I don't know exactly. My best guess is God made them born with it, and was like, I'm gonna give you like this snotty, snivelly bitch way of talking in your voice. And that way every other person you meet throughout your life can understand what you are at the first sound of your fucking tone. That's my guess. Soy, that could explain it. I don't know. A happy and hilarious coincidence is all I got. The guy in Pursuit of Darkness that's been getting reamed lately speaks the exact same way. Wait, do you mean in Praise of Shadows? Or is there another guy I don't know of? Because if you're talking about in Praise of Shadows and that Wendigoon thing, I agree. Like, I actually made that point earlier in the stream. It was like they sound the fucking same. Yes, okay. Welcome to the stream. I made that comparison earlier. You're right. Both the fuckers sound the same.
Of the video amongst themselves, just openly in public. Some of them using words like idiot and stupid.
Aww.
Monotone, nasally bitch. Yes, they all sound like... And the thing is, I have bits at 1.5 speed, and anyone who just joined or has joined since I started the stream, this is how he actually sounds.
Claim ownership over this thing. Now, it's possible, and I can't speak for completely 100% of every single person who's screaming about Games Workshop being woke, or Games Woke Shop, or woke shop, or whatever other thing we're going to go with here. Woke work woke. At this point, I'm surprised nobody's having a stroke. But
that's how he sounds. Fuck me, man. Matt the Beast, welcome to the stream. I was catching up on double speed. Please don't. No, wait. Please don't what? Change the speed? It was only for a second. Can we say pussy? I don't know. Like, YouTube might block it in the text chat. I can say it. They'll demonetize me after the stream, but I don't give a shit at this point. Oh, God. Is the stock still in the shit? Admittedly, no. The stock has gone back up, disappointingly. That doesn't mean that the consequences aren't... the boycott isn't working. Keep in mind that the stocks will fluctuate and go up and down based on like people are buying the stocks or not. So a lot of poor bastards just bought a lot of the stock because it went down so far after the Femstodes situation that it was super cheap. So a bunch of people bought up the stock, so the stock market went up for it. But that only means that those poor bastards who bought it while it was in the low think that they're going to get their money's worth back. That's all that means. It doesn't mean that the boycott is failing or anything like that, so keep that in mind. It just means a bunch of poor bastards made a poor financial decision. Brosnan dropped a test in his whole system just by his voice. Remember how many years when Disney took this route before it started going down? We are still only seeing the start of it. Yeah. After me. 1, 2, 3. Pussy! YouTube, we're obviously talking about cats.
The thing is that almost every account that has been screaming about this does not share models online. They do not participate in the online community in any constructive fashion. Their entire involvement is about trying to claim ownership.
Huh? How do you say poor bastards? Sounds like you're from New York, possibly the Bronx. Funny you say that. I'm from Maine. I've grown up in Maine my entire life. Maine spelled Maine. I'm just south of Canada. But through my really early years of my childhood, my family moved around a little bit. I was born in Maine. Then my family moved to New York, the Bronx, ironically. And we lived there till I was like 2, I think. And then we moved to Kentucky for like 6 months. And then we came back to Maine, and we've been here ever since. So though the vast majority of my childhood has been here, apparently there has been some damage on my accent a little bit. So there's... that's it. Thing is, I always wondered why I said certain words a little bit differently than like other people. And when my mom pointed out, like, oh, well, some of the things you say, I think that's because of when we were living in New York with you. That's how I found out we lived in New York. I think that's why. It could just be like, I'm just weird. But that's the only explanation I could think of. But yeah, poor bastards. Ah, you poor bastard. Hey, I'm walking here, man. I'm walking here. Pay that house is... the house is here. Nathan says, keep in mind the UK is going to hold a general election soon, so as the currency also wavers like it would in the US with an election. Wait, what? So as the currency also wavers like it would in the US, that's with a question mark. Trying to understand. Are you making a statement, Nathan, or you're asking me a question? People who use the lower currency rates to buy stocks. Okay. No. Now, okay, I should have read that last sentence. Now I get what you're saying. Have you seen it in clown? Have you seen it, the clown, anywhere? Wait, what? I think saying it the way public TV has for years, putty, would be fine. Like Tweety Birds. I thought I saw a putty tat. I thought I saw a putty tat. I'm so sorry for you. No one should have to go through New York. I mean, it's not too bad. I only lived there from the age of like 6 months old. I almost said 6 months years old. 6 months old to 2, and then we moved, to Kentucky for 6 months, and then came back to Maine. I don't even remember it. At least there might be like a locked away memory or something, right? But generally, I don't remember my time in New York. He lives in Derry, Maine. I don't live in Derry. No. I don't even know if there is a town called Derry. I think there is. But if it does exist, it's a tiny town. Because there is a town I'm thinking of that is really small that I can't remember the name of, so I'm thinking that might be Derry, Maine. Because I know, I've seen Stephen King. I know where his house is. And before anyone thinks that's weird, everyone in Maine knows where Stephen King lives. Pretty much everyone. Like, everyone's passed his house at least once in their entire... If you've lived here for any substantial amount of time, you've been around his house at some point. Not because it's a tourist attraction. One cool thing about the culture of Maine is we don't bother with celebrities. We don't really bother with many... if you live in Maine and you're from here, it's very... not isolationist, but people tend to stick to them. Tend to stick to themselves. You don't bother other people. It hasn't been firebombed? Oh, hell no. None of us locals would let that ever happen. No. Again, for all the negatives Maine has, and trust me, there's quite a few, one of those being it's a lefty state. But one of the few benefits we have is it's very tight-knit communities around here. So if one person gets fucked with, especially someone as predominant as Stephen King is, and as much as I don't like him and don't agree with him, he is very loved in his local community. So if anyone tried to firebomb his house, there'd be hell to pay. For better or for worse. I don't support firebombing anybody. That's always wrong in virtually all scenarios. I can't believe I have to say that, but I have to. He's a jackal anyway. Yeah, he's a jackal, but that doesn't mean he deserves to get firebombed, you know? Like, that's a bit extreme. He's an asshole. He deserves to be called an asshole. That's the extent of what you should do with him.
And to Gatekeeping. And surprise, we're going to be talking about this again, but Games Workshop doesn't want gatekeepers. I know that's a surprise to some people, but that's not what a company wants. They want people to buy their product, not people standing out front of their business telling people to go away. They don't need bouncers. It's not a bar. Now, of course, I'm sure somebody's going to, reply in the comments below that I'm horribly misgeneralizing an entire community of people. But yeah, it's possible.
Oh, why stop now? You like to call women birthers. Yeah, you love to generalize and demean people who don't agree with you, so. Nothing new there.
But honestly, when I continue to deal with them online, and I fail to see anything from them other than vitriol and sometimes just straight up bigotry, it's hard to see them as...
I've seen people directly message you and directly respond to your tweets explaining our side of things. So you're lying.
Actually participating in the community and seeing more that their hobby is trying to force...
Disingenuously showing a one-off fucking picture of some rando and pretending again, as he's been doing throughout this video, conflating that represents the majority of us who disagree with you.
Everyone they don't like.
In short, you're lying and you're being disingenuous.
Like out. Because let's be honest here, you can name every single Space Marine in the Horse Heresy from memory, or know how many braids are Shadow Sun's ponytail, or been playing since Rogue Trader launched in 1987. They will still call you a tourist if you think...
I will agree with this, and I'm guilty of it, to be fair. But tourist is becoming an overused term. Again, keep in mind, I'm guilty of it. We are overusing it like heck. I generally think I'm pretty good at keeping close to my definition of it, but it's pretty clear a lot of people are overusing it in a lot of scenarios it doesn't apply. So it is getting muddied. It is starting to get overused and incorrectly in certain scenarios. That being said, you're still lying. Because not everyone is calling everybody who disagrees as a tourist. A lot of people are calling you what I call you, which is a liar.
That games
and the hack.
Games are for everyone. And this isn't the first time this has happened. And I unfortunately don't think it's going to be the last. Though the Trench Crusade thing gives me hope because they've been horribly embarrassed themselves recently and it's great. And nothing takes the...
Not really. And people showed interest, and then when they showed themselves to be woke, a lot of people bowed out immediately. It's not that complicated. Like, he's going to act like it was this big victory. It wasn't a victory for you guys. Like, how is it? Like, well, don't get me wrong. It was probably a victory in your eyes, but for Trench Crusade, it was a huge loss. A huge customer base that has available income now, who had an interest, now aren't going to invest, aren't going to buy the kits, aren't going to support it. They're going to scan them. One or two people are going to buy the minis to scan them and make STLs. And then everyone's going to pick up those STLs and not give another cent to the Trench Crusade creators. That game's going to die. It might have some initial support from people who either don't care about like all that drama, and from a few of you wokos who will buy just out of spite to people like myself who don't want to deal with wokeness. But in terms of long-term support, it's going to fail. Like, Trench Crusade had a chance to have a huge uptick of support in business, and they spat on it and tossed it away for ideological pandering. I didn't mention in another stream, but that there was a Discord that had Warhammer STL files, but I couldn't find it. Could I get some directions? The two that I immediately could think of, both of which are private Discords, so you'd have to like meet up with the people who run them. The Discords I could think of, on the other hand, that like they're related to STLs, but they aren't necessarily providing all of them. If you're looking for free STLs or just shared general STLs, I'd recommend looking into Gamza's Discord. Keep in mind, he has STLs he sells on his Patreon. But I think, I could be wrong, I haven't been in there in a while, but I'm pretty sure I remember them sharing STLs of other things. Also, keep in mind, you can find free STLs or cheap STLs on Cults 3D. That's a website, not a Discord. Or Thingiverse, also a website, not a Discord. So you don't have to go to a Discord to find STLs. But I would go to Gamza's, because they are pretty good about like sharing STLs with one another, or at the very least links to them to support creators and stuff. So there's Gamza's, and who was the other one? There was another. It was another community Discord. I'm blanking on the other one. I can't remember the other one. Fuck. Gamza's, if you're just looking for like people sharing them. And again, you can find your own through like 3D, Cult 3D and Thingiverse. You can also, if you go to myminifactory.com, they also have STLs and stuff set up. But again, that's not a Discord. That's a website. In terms of Discord, it's only Gamza's that comes to mind. Forge Miniatures, maybe. Oh, Wheezy's got a link to a Chudhammer STL archive if you want me to send it to you. Yeah, feel free to send it to me, man, and I'll share it around with people. So, yeah, like, there's options. But, yeah. Oh, there's also the One Page Rules Discord server, but again, that's attached to One Page Rules specific STLs that they sell on their Patreon. Less so just sharing STLs with each other. So, but I think they may also share, STL files with each other that aren't related to One Page Rules, because again, they want to. I got the link. Yeah, it's a Mega Drive folder. Whoops, didn't want to pull that up there. Yeah. Yeah, I'll share, with Wheezy's permission, I could share that on my call line Discord. Well, might be safer if I just do it via DMs for anyone interested. So feel free to DM me, and I will try. Keep in mind, I cannot be on Discord constantly these days. I'm jumping around a lot, but I will try and get back to you if you DM me and send you the link to the file I got. It's got a lot of STLs, so. Yeah, Zoid entries, and if, like, Asmogan, you know your way around 3D modeling software, you can make your own. True, you can make your own. I've got plenty of practice with ZBrush and Blender, as well as 3ds Max, and, of course, my favorite 3D modeling and animation software, Maya, but that's expensive as fuck. So, anyway, back to the... I'm not gonna lie, we're definitely not finishing this video. Already what we've gone through is such shit. I don't know if I can make it through anymore of what he's saying. Well, how are we only 14 minutes in? We've been going at 4.5 speed. How has he said so much bullshit and lied so much in 14 minutes out of an hour? Fucking A.
The wind out of their sails, quite like public embarrassment like that. So when I say it's not the first time, we saw them raise a stink. Now, granted, they weren't as vocal then. This was still before Trump got elected, or shortly thereafter. I'll be honest, or the exact.
Did you mention Trump? Really?
When Arch before Trump got. So when I say it's not the first time, we saw them raise a stink. Now, granted, they weren't as vocal then. This was still before Trump got elected, or shortly there.
Yes, because people who were vocal against bad retcons and bad fucking lying bullshit. Yes, because they only existed after Trump. Why do they always pretend this? This is one thing I'll never understand. Wouldn't it help their cause more? Because they constantly argue like this huge systemic problem with like conservatism or like right-leaning people, constantly like conflating them with neo-Nazis and fascists, which is ironic considering Nazis were left-leaning. And you guys certainly are playing a lot of cards from their fucking rulebook. But I digress. Wouldn't it help your guys' bullshit perspective if you like said, "Oh, well, they were like they've been there since like the '80s and stuff. Those conservatives constantly ruin things." But they always constantly go back to like, "Oh, they weren't there until Trump got elected." Like, make up your mind. Have we only been there a little while, or have we been there forever? Okay. Your current armies are Custodes, Space Marines, and Tyranids. Mine are Orcs, World Eaters, technically Space Marines, I guess, just by sheer amount. How do I get Goth Waifu? Go to Colts 3D and just type that in. You'll find results. Aren't they getting rid of Grey Knights as their own faction? If they have, I missed that. That's the main question. Well, it depends on what form as well. If you're looking for like actual real woman in form, I recommend this thing called dating. It's harrowing, it's difficult, but you can do it. I believe in you. Asmo, what's the best way to find the name/links to STLs, artists that don't want their names shared, so GW hitmen don't target them? I have an immediate answer to that, but I can't share it at risk of said people, so I can't say that on stream. Again, just doing I can't give you artist names, but I could give you methods of finding it. Best way to find, go to places like Gams' Discord or One Page Rules Discord or any Discord that's very centric with STLs, especially if there's a 40k focus. And be careful who you talk to, because a lot of those places still have woke people in them, sadly. Not a lot of woke people, especially not very vocal ones, because they're outnumbered in a lot of those places, but they are there, and they will pull a Norn Queen Alexis and will at GW and try and like report, so be careful who you talk to. But if you go to those places, you could find a lot of suggestions and stuff from people, depending on who you talk to. Ask for DMs. As for artists I can share that do have a lot of cool, they're not rescans, but they're like basically renditions of 40k armies. Like Red Makers, they're really good with Combia Janissaries or Krieg. They do great guard armies. They're the only ones that come to the top of my head, though. And, of course, you could do general searches on places like Colts 3D or Thingiverse for, hey, type in Space Marine or Astartes. And from there, you just kind of sift through and you find, like, the best made ones. Sometimes there'll be a price tag attached, but that'll help you find good artists. It's hard for me to give you exact instructions or people to go to because, unfortunately, someone might watch the stream and then go after those people. So that's the best I can give you, unfortunately. Genuine arguments in my Bitsummer video? I think not, good sir. Alright, let's keep going. I as much as I'm memeing, I genuinely don't know how much more of his fucking bullshit I could take. He is so bad. He's so bad. Like, he's not entertaining. He's got a fucking nasally ass bitch voice. And he is so goddamn long drone. Who's Norn Queen Alexis? I ain't got time for that.
Thereafter.
I'm not going to sit here for another hour.
It eludes me, but when Arch Warhammer, also known as Archcast or just Arch, had Games Workshop issue him a cease and desist to take the Warhammer out of his name and his brand, and then contacted World of Warships and told them that Arch was blacklisted from working on any Games Workshop.
I find it funny that the Wokehammer crowd continue to like hack on this point like it's some kind of victory. What did you win? He still makes 40k videos. He still voices his opinions. He still has an audience. He didn't lose anything but a single word in his YouTube name. And it was just petty and bitchy as fuck. All it did was showcase GW to be bitches. You didn't win any. They always act like this is a win. What did you win?
Shop-related promotions. They got
it's bigger than ever.
And like I said, there weren't as much of a vocal percentage. We had more moderation in social media at the time. We also had...
This is... Here's the thing. This is the same thing Radhom did, where they when they gatekeep, they call it moderation. So what he's just said just now, hey, we had more moderation on social media. And he says it with a positive. That's again, these are the authoritarians, these are the fascists, these are the neo-Nazis. They hate it when you can say what you want, and they love it when they can say what they want. They despise your ability to call them out. Despise it. It causes every fiber of their being to rage. They lose their fucking shit. So what he's saying there is, what he's calling moderation is gatekeeping. So when social media was gatekeeping people who are more anti-woke, that's what he's referring to. Don't let him trick you with like fucking changing the words around. Oh, it was more or less moderation. No. It was more gatekeeping in favor. Keep in mind, this guy's a Twitterite. So he's referring to Twitter. He's referring to Twitter. The fucking clown.
Them less emboldened to be a whole freaking circus of clowns, to be honest.
No, less emboldened to call you out on your shit, which I'm sure pisses you off.
We also saw them do the same nonsense in 2020 when Games Workshop published Warhammer is for everyone. Part of what they were trying to do for a couple of years, really, was try to claim that, no, Warhammer is for, and I quote, anyone, end quote. And the reason they would do this is they were...
Okay, he's literally putting the thing that's about to slap him. This tweet literally slaps him in his own face. Okay, keep going.
Trying to play semantics. They wanted to try to redefine it to say that it can't be for everyone. So it has to be for anyone. And if it's for anyone, then they can exclude people because it may not be for you if you have any complaints about it whatsoever. Because...
Lies. Lies, yet again, from the Bitsammer.
Let's be honest here.
Let's go back.
To say that it can't be for everyone. So it has to be for anyone. And if it's for anyone, then they can exclude people because it may not be for you if you have any complaints about it.
Literally lying. He's saying it out to be, he's like, oh, it's to exclude you if you have any level of complaints. Again, you were there, Bitsammer. You were told by me and, before you blocked me and several other people exactly what we meant by these tweets. You're lying. You have literally had this explained to you ad nauseum. So and this is where I'm going to give you an option to pick one. You either are so utterly retarded that basic English full-length explanations of multiple tweets laying out for you what we mean when we say these things, and you still don't get it. So either your reading comprehension and your ability to understand is completely bullshit, and let's be honest, that's not the issue. You are an idiot, but that's not in terms of your English comprehension. You're just lying. You are literally pretending that the reality is not the reality and inventing a lie. Because you know if you admit the truth, it'll make you sound dumb. In other words, make you sound how you actually are. Warhammer is not for everyone because it doesn't appeal to everyone. It is a grimdark sci-fi universe with a lot of bad shit. It's a horrifying universe. It's a bad place. That'll immediately exclude certain people, thus not making it for everyone. Additionally, it is not welcome to people who want to come in and change it fundamentally. That doesn't mean what you're lying and making it out to be, which is, oh, it's anyone with any kind of minor complaint. No, that's not the issue. Lots of us who are for gatekeeping actually have, before the Femstodes thing, we had many minor complaints. A minor complaint, however, is not saying, you know what, this universe, it's not inclusive enough. It should have this. Like them, like going to the chalkboard, wiping it down, and writing over everything with their bullshit. That's not a minor complaint, you disingenuous, dishonest hack. You're a liar. And you're so bad at it. That's what's impressive. You're so bad at it. So bad. Look at this. Again, this is a low ball. The return to YouTube dislike low balls this number. You're so bad. The moment you step out of Twitter, The sad thing is you don't even realize how much you're the actual vocal minority. You think you're the majority because you surround yourself with the echo chamber of Twitter, and you've convinced yourself due to all those alt accounts that follow you, all those bot accounts, those bot woke accounts that follow you, and those very few actual brainwashed dipshits that follow you represent the majority or even a decent portion of the 40K community. That's clown show. You're a liar. You're disingenuous. You are full of shit. Go back to calling women birthers. You're better at that. Let your misogyny flow. At least you're honest when you do.
It whatsoever. Because, let's be honest here, they don't understand that the true longest running hobby of the community is complaining about things that Games Workshop does. We do it because we care, even when we're annoying about it. But they have chosen this belief that...
First honest thing you've said is admitting that you're annoying about it.
No, you can't have any requests from Games Workshop at all, because then it's not for you. You want to change things. You want things to be different. You don't respect the lore, except for the fact that it's fluff, not lore. The canon has never existed by their own admission, and that they're...
Oh, he's gonna pull the author quote bullshit. Okay. How long do I want to spend on this point? You know, I'm not gonna take an hour on it because we've already like fucking hacked on it. Okay, so I'll put the baseline of it. The authors, when they say this shit and they pull this shit, it's because they don't want to be held to any standard. So these quotes from authors he's about to pull out of his ass. First of all, there's like a 50 plus authors, so this isn't even the majority of them. But second of all, it's been already pointed out millions of times. The reason the authors pull this card all the fucking time of saying there's no canon is because they don't want to be held to a standard. They are lazy. They don't want the responsibility of being stewards of the hobby and the universe. The lore does exist. The authors don't get to define whether that's the case or not. Well, they write the universe. Sure. Great. Cool. There's about 80 of them. Even if the majority of them came out and said, though, that there's no lore, there is. Every time they put pen to paper and write a story in the universe of 40K, that is lore. That thing that you're disingenuously calling fluff and pretending that doesn't mean also lore, it is. Fluff is also lore. It's a canon. It's a soft canon. The specific details of events are absolutely vague and do shift. But the greater universe, the broad lore, the Horus Heresy has always happened. They've never contradicted that that's happened. Ever. The Emperor exists. Never contradicted, never disagreed with, never pointed to not be the case. Space Marines exist. Orcs exist. Tyranids exist. But you guys, when you pretend and say this shit that there's no canon, no lore, that means none of those things exist. None of those things have been reinforced and established in the lore and been reinvigorated and steel-manned countless times over the years. It's disingenuous. And this shows you're not a fan of 40K. Now, I'm not going to pull the Taurus card, because again, I admit that has been overused. But you're not a fan. You're a fake fan of 40K. Because only a fake fan would say, hey, everything that actually makes up this thing I'm supposed to be a fan of, well, it's not a thing. It doesn't exist. No fan of a product would do that. No fan sits there and says, hey, this whole thing that makes up the hobby, it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean anything. Orcs can be custodians. Dark elves could be tomb kings. Grey Knights can be alligators. There's no canon after all, right? You're a liar. And you're disingenuous. And these authors are also liars. They only say this because they don't want the responsibility and being held to the standard to actually do their jobs right. and respect us, the fans, and the universe that they're supposed to be enhancing and adding to. Also, this is an appeal to authority fallacy for anyone who wants to check that.
Basically just creating a
Have a good night, Charlie
idol
Frank.
that they
Run.
hold up and claim that is the true Warhammer that doesn't look anything like Warhammer. And we saw the same group of people, only louder this time because, surprise, surprise, it involves a black person or a black character. You see, we got a novel that had Captain Felix on it, and it turned out he's black. And it turns out the idea of a black Ultramarine horribly offended some of these people, to include Arch, who had a whole video on the idea that, about black Space Marines being a problem. There were people who legitimately argued, well, I shouldn't say legitimately, because their arguments were not legitimate, but they actually argued the stupidest things, like the idea that only salamanders can be black spacemen. They argued that.
I will say again, I will admit I agree with, and I don't even really agree with Bitshammer. I agree with the notion that like there being a multiracial like a black space marine. Fine, that works. It's okay. That Arch didn't say that. Thing is, I don't even remember. I know Arch did a video about it, but I don't remember what angle he targeted it from. But Wolfenbach, feel free to tell me if this is the angle Arch covered it from. But I will point out, though, that people pointing out a problem with this in regards to the only reason that they're putting a giant focus, almost bigger focus really than Gilliman in the back here, a giant primary focus in the book, the book cover art is on the black Space Marine. The reason they're doing that is for politics. It's virtue signaling. This is a virtue signal. If it was just about a black Space Marine and that was it, and there wasn't a clear motivation to do it for political pandering, then yeah, who gives a shit? It is a minor thing at that point, in my personal opinion. It doesn't go against the lore fundamentally. So if people were complaining about this just on the virtue of, oh, well, there can't be a black Ultramarine. Yes, there can. There could be a black Templar, a black Templar. There could be an Asian freaking Salamander. Like, that totally can happen. But the thing is, why are they putting a focus on it? Why are they spending multiple pages of a book describing their skin color and like how people react to it? What's the motivation behind that? Politics. That's what people are like. If people complain about it from that, they have every right to. And I have a feeling, Bitsy, that's what most people's problem is. It's not that there is a black Ultramarine. It's why are they having such a focus on it? Why is there a spotlight on it? Why is it the biggest fucking thing on the front of the book? We know why. Art said that due to the gene seed, if an environment with low sunlight / less than Earth equatorial environment, they wouldn't be as dark due to a melanin regulation / adaptation of Marines, IRC. I have to read that again. Art said that due to the gene seed, if an environment with low sunlight / less than Earth equatorial environment, they wouldn't be as dark due to the melanin regulation adaptation of the Marines, IRC. Well, the thing is, so that by the sounds of it, then Arch was arguing that in universe there is an explanation against it. Okay, so to be fair, I don't know that specifically off the top of my head. So but by the sounds of it, it doesn't sound like Arch's problem with it was that he was black. It's that so even then, he's disingenuously representing it that it's as simple as, oh, how dare black man be here? No, Arch had an in-universe reason then, because it's like, okay, in the lore, there's specifically a thing about this. And why this doesn't make as much sense. Now, I don't know that off the top of my head. That doesn't sound right to me, but I'd have to double check that part of the gene seed. Asmogan, for what I remember, Arch angles is that black Space Marines would be rare because gene seeds changes your genetic makeup to be more in line with Primarch they are from. Now, that part is true, but the thing is, to be fair with that, the extent at which the gene seed alters one to resemble their Primarch, it depends on the book you read. And this is even less consistent than the Space Marines all being male well, sorry, that's actually quite consistent. A better example would be, well, the point is, when it comes to the level at which the gene seed makes one resemble their Primarch, it varies exponentially. And it also showcases in examples like Little Horus. Like, for those who remember the Horus Heresy novel, Horus Rising, and several of the other books, Little Horus was unique amongst his brothers because he resembled their Primarch so much, which goes to show that, well, that gene seed alteration doesn't make them look like their Primarchs 1-to-1, nor is it like, oh, every single one of them has this equal level of change. In certain gene seeds, like, for example, Fulgrim's gene seed, like all of the Emperor's children, they all got like lighter, almost platinum hair. Not all of them, there were still exceptions and outliers, but for the most part, quite a few of the Emperor's children got that from their Primarch, but otherwise they didn't come to look like their Primarch. There was still a lot of variation, a lot of retention of their own unique genetic features. So the level at which the gene seed alters one varies. And it's not consistent Marine to Marine or Primarch to Marine gene seed. The changes vary exponentially. So a black Primarch with blonde hair, chiseled jaw, blue-eyed, white-skinned Gilliman isn't out of the question. Though I would certainly say the Astartes in question would have something about him likely shift to resemble his Primarch, whether it be his jawline, whether it be his eye color, hair color, or skin pigmentation. That being said, it's not out of the question, certainly from everything I've read, that he could look black, and still inherit the gene seed and it still work in setting. So, again, on this line, and again, you guys know I'm not woke, that's not where I'm arguing it from, but from my understanding of the gene seed shift, a black Ultramarine is possible. I would still say there should be something about him that should still... Like, if he looks nothing like Gilliman at all, that's also extremely rare. Like, there's almost always something about the Astartes in question that shifts to resemble their Primarch. So, by the same token that they can look very different from him, they can also still have something that changes. So, if a black-skinned Primarch has a non-chiseled jaw, has dark-colored eyes, black hair, and, big lips, big nose, but has, like, nothing that resembles their Primarch, that's also extremely rare and would be strange. So, like, something has to still resemble them. Now, by the looks of it, of the artwork, I'd say it's the jawline. But then again, like, their angles are different, and half his jawline is hidden underneath his armor. But I'd say, like, that could be, like, the excusable, like, shift due to the gene seed. So, again, on this line, there's a little bit, like, a lot more debate. The guy on the cover did not look in the slightest like Gilliman. I will agree that what we can see, his eye color is different, his hair color is different, his nose and lips are different, exceedingly so. The only thing that could, like, fix that is the jawline, and half of the jawline's obscured. If the jawline, like, that's the only thing that, to me, could excuse why he looks so different, is if there's that one thing that is contracted. I would have chosen the eye color. Like, you can still make a black Ultramarine, right? And still have him retain a trait from his Primarch. I would have had it be the eye color. Like, I would describe it in the book as like, oh, he's like this large, powerful space marine, removes his helm and reveals a skin in dark, but not like that of the salamanders, but a nice brown chocolatey color. Sorry, a bunch of jokes just entered my head when I said that. Feel free to launch them at me in the chat. Let's go. Let them loose. What? Yeah, I would describe that and it'd be like, all of his features were certainly notable and consistent with other such people within the Imperium. However, his piercing blue eyes stood out or pierced uniquely amongst his features. I'd make like, something clearly has to still be derived from their Primarch. It's near impossible for an Astartes to have zero features from their Primarch inherited via the gene seed. Something is usually transferred. White chocolate man. Release the hounds. Black people with light skins, blue eyes are very rare and very, very attractive. Really? I actually haven't looked that up. That's like albino, though, isn't it? Well, the blue eyes part, I guess, wouldn't be albino, but the pale skin. It's funny though, blue-eyed chocolate man. Oh, fuck. Yeah, Margaret would put it best, and that's what I said earlier. There's nothing wrong with having a black Astartes. The problem arises when they are just shoehorned into the lore for the sake of diversity. That's the problem, and that's the part I would certainly protest about for like this book cover, Avenging Sun. It's very clear what they're doing here. Like such a huge spotlight, such a huge focus on it. He's bigger than even Gilliman is in this artwork and more prominent. Like it's very obvious what they're doing, and for what reason. Albino black people are as rare as diamonds. I mean, yeah. And usually it's not like a full albino, is it? Because normally, like, if you're albino black, but you still, like, you might still have patches of, like, a darker skin. Or am I thinking of, like, the wrong thing? So in blue-eyed chocolate man, exactly. Fuck. Okay, that's a new meme. Anyway.
And all space marines look like they're Primarchs, which definitely isn't true because if you look at the Horus Heresy, we see it called out very specifically that somebody looks like Horus, to the point they call him Little Horus as a nickname.
Aw, I hate that we have the same fucking example. Fuck you, Bitsy. But fair.
Or you can just look at pictures of space marines. You know, Marnius Calgar does not look like Gilliman. Cato Sicarius does not look like Marnius Calgar or Gilliman.
What? I do. They're not identical, but they look... Yeah, they look the same. What are you talking about? Same jawline. Kagar has white hair. Is that your point? And that's still a pale hair color. I could definitely see the similarity there. Yeah. What are you talking about? You're so full of shit.
Space Marines. He looks like Horus, to the point they call him Little Horus as a nickname. Or you can just look at pictures of Space Marines. You know, Marnius Calgar does not look like Gilliman. Cato Sicarius.
Yes, he does. Same jawline, and he has a light eye color and hair color. He's not blonde like Gilliman, but he has a lighter hair color. There are similarities. People aren't saying they look one-to-one, you dipshit. If you know anything about 40k lore, you know that the reason people make that point is there is some level of carryover. I fucking hate we use the same example, but you are right in the sense that it is exceptional to look identical to your Primarch, but similarities are universal. Nearly every Astartes has some kind of similarity to their Primarch that they got from the gene seed. Again, look at the Emperor's Children. Most of them get a blonde white hair. That's a very predominant feature in that gene seed.
Sicarius does not look like Marnius Calgar or Gilliman. He looks like his own person, you know. Now, it is true. There are aspects about the Primarchs that do show up more often. For example, Emperor's Children do tend to have white hair a lot more commonly. The Imperial Fists tend to look like they're bricks in how their faces look. This is normal. You know, it's fine. Part of it is how the gene seed causes the body to express certain things through, magical hormones and whatever. But it's a trend. It's not an exact clone. These are not Primarchs.
He's a fan of 40k, guys. We referred to the gene seed, which have been explained ad nauseum and have an actual chart explaining all of the genetic changes related to them, but it's just magic, you know? I'm a fan of 40k, guys, even though I just revealed that I know jack shit of what I'm talking about.
Clones. They are not exact copies. Not even close. I mean, if they were, the salamanders would have a natural African skin tone and not be described as literally coal black. Kind of a big difference.
Wait, hold on. What?
Between the natural African skin copies. Not even close. I mean, if they were, the salamanders would have a natural African skin tone and not be described as literally...
Except Vulcan isn't African. Not in OG lore, anyway. And as far as I know, it never got retconned. It's been community retconned. Like, all the community fan art of Vulcan, to be fair, is, like, drawn like a black man. But in traditional lore, all of the Primarchs look similar to the Emperor. Similar to how it's like variations of the Emperor. It was variations on them for their own sons. That was a theme between them. Vulcan was always had that charcoal skin because of the world he was on, but in his original renditions, he looked feature-wise like his brothers and like the Emperor. He just happened to have dark skin. He wasn't shown to be like African in terms of his facial features. That's a fan change. One that to be fair, one that the IP holders, GW, did kind of adopt in later renditions, but that isn't like the most of the original lore, and that's never been contradicted. Says that it doesn't blatantly say like he's not African in terms of features, but how he's described originally is like his brothers in terms of features, which is fairly Caucasian looking, just with dark skin due to the world he was on. It's not African dark, it's charcoal, like burnt black dark. Don't get me wrong, like I'm totally down with the reimagining of Vulcan to be black as well as black. I'm down with that, but that was mostly a fan thing as far as I've ever seen. I don't think they ever retconned that proper.
Coal black. Kind of a big difference there between the ethnicity and literally the color of coal. Those are not the same things. But we had these two characters, and obviously it really outed the group, a large part of that group, for what they were. Horrible bigots. I hate to tell you this, but if you're freaking out that a Space Marine can be black, just because
you would know all about bigotry, wouldn't you, Bitsy? You know all about that sweet, sweet bigotry. All about that bigotry. That sweet, sweet misogyny you hump every day. No, I will never let you live this down, you absolute hypocritical fuck.
he's not a salamander, you are not a good person. Your whole life probably needs to be rethought from day one. Go back.
Uh-huh. Do go on.
To start, and do not pass go. Do not collect $200. That is not okay. There's something horribly wrong with the way you look at the world. And of course, a year after we had Warhammers for everyone, we also had them throw a massive fit when Games Workshop responded to a tournament in Spain that involved a player who had gone by the moniker, quote, Austrian painter, unquote, who wore Nazi symbols to include a swastika made of swastikas. And GW said, we don't want Nazis at our events. We don't want you wearing symbols of actual real-life hate groups. We don't want you. We do not want you as customers. We do not want you at our events. We do not want your money. And for some reason, they got really offended at this. For some magical reason that they tell me they're not Nazis, but they get really upset anytime somebody says Nazis can't be involved in something. When somebody's literally wearing Nazi symbols, they get upset when they're told, no, you can't do this. Really doesn't make any sense to them. If you're not a Nazi, you should not be offended when people say we don't want Nazis. If you tell me no Nazis,
sorry, what was he saying?
Nazis. After we had
he's bringing up that shit.
Throw a massive fit when Games Workshop responded to a tournament in Spain that involved a player who had gone by the...
Okay. You disingenuous piece of shit. Oh my god. Okay. Oh, Wheezy Billy, you just disingenuous sack of soy. That story has been debunked. Yeah. The guy's a fucking liar. Oh my god, man. Like, of all the examples you pull one that was very popular and very popularly debunked. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going.
moniker, quote, Austrian painter, unquote, who wore Nazi symbols to include a swastika made of swastikas. And GW said, we don't want Nazis at our events. We don't want you wearing symbols of actual real-life hate groups. We don't want you. We do not want you as customers. We do not want you at our events. We do not want your money. And for some reason, they got...
Who cares? Now, let me explain that, I guess. I do not care. Let's pretend this scenario that happened.
Said, we
that
don't want
totally
Nazi.
happened, guys. Let's say I go to a game and someone walks in wearing Goebbels or Goebbels, that fucks outfits, and wears like a giant fucking walks in with a freaking little flag hanging off his back with a swastika on it. You know what my reaction would be? I would laugh. I would laugh my ass off. I would be fucking laughing. I would lose my shit. I would be on the floor with my ribs cracking. I would be laughing. But when I finally calmed down, I would stand up. I would look at him dead in the eye and go, "Are you serious right now?" And if he went, "Yes, I'm a Nazi. I believe everything Hitler ever said." And if I thought he was being genuine and was not trolling, I would immediately go to the tournament tournament holders, and I would look him dead in the eye and go, "Dude, I want to play him first round. I don't care if it's a random draw. Randomly draw me and I will bribe you. I will give you 200. I will buy 3 boxes of combat patrols if you put me up against this fuck for this tournament, please." I would play him. I would kick his ass. I would totally squash him in points. And I would fucking walk out proud. Like, who gives a shit? Play him. Kick his ass. All you do by freaking out and kicking him out is show yourself to be a bitch. Hey Nathan, Jesus, you still going on shit sandwich? Yes, this is entertaining as fuck. Granted, I'm getting tired because it's the same shit over and over again. It's the same lies, but fuck, is it funny? He's at such a level of lying and disingenuousness. It's impressive. They all capitulated to anybody who surrendered to this guy. You're a bitch. You're more of a bitch than he is. Or was. You kidding me? Really? I would fucking challenge him. I would kick his ass. Who gives a shit? Now listen, if he comes in and if he sees someone he thinks is Jewish and walks up to them and tries to hit them or punch them or kick them or even threaten them, yeah, kick him out at that point. But if he just comes in dressed a certain way, who gives a shit? Beat him. Kick his ass. Show him he can't hurt you. He can't make you weep and lose your fucking head. Take him on. You don't have to be friendly with him. You have to be gentlemanly because it's a gentleman's game, but you don't have to be nice. You know? You start the match, be like, "All right, taking you on. Let's go." And you don't have to banter with him. You don't have to have fun convos with him. If he tries to get political, tell him to shut the fuck up. It's listen, I'm playing. I do not care. Call your shots. Do your game. Kick his ass. All you do by going, "I refuse to play him," he wins. Congratulations. You bitched out. You had a chance to literally duel a Nazi in Warhammer. How many opportunities do you get to actually do that? I would have had someone, and this is all assuming the person actually is a real Nazi. There are plenty of circumstances where someone will show up, right, who believe a certain way, but they might dress up to troll. You know? There might be a Jewish guy, right, who will put on a fake little black toothbrush mustache, do a side wave haircut, put on a hat, put on a Goebbels outfit, and march into a shop doing the Nazi salute just to fuck around. Again, if you, like, hiss like a vampire and run away like a pussy, you're just a bitch. It's funny. Laugh at him. Laugh his ass down. The pride Bits showed in the indignancy of, like, the people refused to play him and kicked him out. If he doesn't threaten anybody, if he's just dressing a certain way, he's just playing the game and playing the tournament, who gives a shit? When he starts to say shit, then, or threaten people, or do something actually bad, not just dress a certain way, but be like an actual threat, then you kick his ass out. Then you throw him out. But if he just comes in dressed a certain way and plays the game normal and speaks normal in every other way, kick his ass. Who gives a shit? Oh my god, fucking bitches, man.
These at our events. We don't want you wearing symbols of actual real-life hate groups. We don't
Who gives a shit?
want you. We do not want you as customers. We do not want you at our events. We do not want your money. And for some reason, they got really offended at this. For some magical reason.
Again, with the lies, disingenuous lies, and conflation. The problem people had was, first of all, like, when the story first came out, most people, like, when they just heard it word to mouth, most people, when they heard it word of mouth, thought it was a troll. It's like, oh, okay, the guy walked in with, like, wearing Goebbels and was, like, being over the top. Like, a lot of people had that picture, right? Before we actually saw the images shared around that you shared here. That's what I certainly heard. Like, when people told me about it, I was like, oh, a troll walked in dressed a certain way. Okay, cool. We found out he was an actual, like, socialist, like, you know, thing or whatever. He wasn't even a Nazi. He was a part of a separate group. After we found that out, who gave a shit? Like, if the guy threatens people, like, verbally, actually goes up and starts hitting somebody, if he does something, kick him out. Who gives a shit what he's wearing? And again, I would just assume it's a troll. He's laughing at him. And if he got offended and you're like, oh, no, I actually believe this, and he started ranting at me about it, I'd be like, oh, okay, get out. And if you refuse to, all right, fine. I'll beat you in this match and make you leave crying like a bitch. You don't have to be friendly with him. But you also don't have to show yourself to be such a petty bitch. You throw him out just because he doesn't dress how you approve? Act how you approve? Who gives a shit? I don't care if someone walks in wearing a fucking pride flag over their shoulder, like, fabulously gay and, like, all that glory. If they play the fucking game and act normal when playing the game, I don't give a shit. Someone walks in dressed as Stalin, I don't care. If they played the game right, who gives a shit? It's clothing. If you are defeated, if you are psychologically brought to your knees by an outfit, how pathetic are you? I think it says best psyops to troll at a 40k game would be cosplaying a bar of soap. No, that's Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic. If you go into any of those, like, it'll be like vampires, like, to sunlight. In 40k, it'll be like every other guy, right? Like, every other guy would be like... The rest of everybody else who did already wash up in soap and has, like, a day job would be like, well, this is one way to win my match.
And then they tell me they're not Nazis, but they get really upset anytime somebody says Nazis can't be involved in something. When somebody's literally wearing Nazi symbols, they get upset when they're told no.
They're not upset because it's specifically not. They're upset by the tendency to put the pussification, the weakness that they're projecting on us, the community. Like, you're the one who supports Warhammer is for everyone, right? This is partly everyone. Neo-Nazis. Fascists. So you don't even believe Warhammer is for everyone. You believe Warhammer is for anyone, and you think there are specific people it's not for. So that earlier point you just made, you're contradicting now. Make up your mind, motherfucker. Is Warhammer for everyone or for anyone? And there are specific groups you want to keep out. You're a hypocritical liar, you dipshit. And he's so bad at it.
No, you can't do this, really doesn't make any sense to me. If you're not a Nazi, you should not be offended when people say we don't want Nazis. You know, if you tell me no Nazis, I'm like, cool, that's great. I love that idea. I don't want to deal with any fucking Nazis either.
I don't. It's like, okay, no Nazis if they act like Nazis, if they come in and threaten people, if they go after people, if they act like shitheads. But I don't give a shit if they actually believe that stuff IRL or they dress like it. But if they don't preach it or practice it in the shop, who cares? If they come in the shop, they shake hands, they treat everybody the same, including the black guy playing, or the Asian guy playing, or the Jewish guy playing, but they might believe a certain way, but they don't say anything, they don't behave, they don't treat people poorly, they don't threaten them, who gives a shit? Not all of us have to be weak pussies that cower in fear at the very idea of a fascist or a Nazi. And again, that's assuming the person you encounter who's dressing like that or doing that is actually a believer of those things. There are trolls. There are people who just fuck around, who have a weird sense of humor. That doesn't make them Nazis. They're just idiots. They're goofballs. They're clowns. They're funny. You laugh at them. That's the correct response. Kicking them out, banning them without doing an action just because they believe something or just because they dress a certain way, that's idiotic. Who gives a shit? It's the actions I give a shit about. It's, do they use this tournament as a soapbox to preach shit at me? That's when I have a fucking problem. Simply believing something, simply dressing a certain way, who cares if they don't bring it up? Who cares if they don't treat people poorly? It's the actions that fucking matter. And says, to quote a certain someone I know, can I play the Nazis, please? Wait, what? Ooh, can I play the Nazis, please? Wait, who? DM me who you're quoting. I think I know who, but it's goddamn symbol. Get over it. We already have to deal with pride flags. It's just another thing that our eyes have to deal with. Yeah, it's the same wavelength. It's like we have to see this stuff, these symbols, these things. We may not like them, but if they don't treat you physically a bad way, if they don't verbally berate you, Midwinter Minis. No, Midwinter Minis was cringing his whole video, just painting. Oh, I'm assembling and painting a model kit. Well, that's me from the Midwinter. Oh, right. You did say that, didn't you? By the way, everyone here, let me take this opportunity to do this. Actually, let me do this. Everyone here. Everyone here, go subscribe to Nathan X2000. He's got wondrous, amazing videos. Of course, conveniently, the first one to pull up here is indeed his Midwinter Minis video, which is solid gold. Go check it out. It's called A Response to Midwinter Minis and his coverage of Bolt Action. And the channel is Nathan X2000. It is pure perfection and glory. Indeed they do, John. Indeed they do. Anywho, angry DMs are brewing. Let's continue. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna let Bitshammer try and make one more point, and if he can make something that isn't a lie, or is conflation, or gaslighting, or just some variation of deception and bullshit like he's been pulling, then I'm done. He's one opportunity here to make a genuine point.
But they got mad. And they, of course, got mad again with this Custodes change. And it's not ending. They tried to also get mad that a Sisters of Battle novel that came out 2+ years ago has a trans character mentioned. Except for it's not even a main character. The scene in question has a Sister of Battle talking to a ship's captain. The captain mentions that he has a friend who took the same name as the Sister of Battle from a book called the Book of Heroes when that friend transitioned. The Sister of Battle doesn't even bat an eye at the idea of a trans person because...
And we're done with the video because this point is also bullshit. It doesn't matter that it was a secondary character. It's still the point and the issue. And by the way, it should be very telling that people didn't know that this was written in the book. That's how shit the book is. The people had such a lack of interest that people didn't realize it until it was pointed out very recently. So that's how shit the condition is of novels that so few people are interested in picking this one up. But additionally, that has nothing to do with the point. It doesn't also matter that it's the main character of the book. The reason there is a trans character in it is for political pandering and propaganda. It's forcing politics into 40K, it being pointed out to us and us calling us out. It's all bullshit. And again, you're lying. You disingenuous hack. Oh my god. 21 minutes of pure bullshit. And also, that's 21 minutes, mainly not because of those points he's made, which, by the way, have all been lies, disingenuous, intellectual dishonesty, or worse. Motherfucker. How do you spend 21 minutes and you only make like 6 points? How? You talk like this guy. This is how he sounds at normal speed. We've been at 1.5 this whole time.
And the author has confirmed this. James Swallow has said the idea that trans people exist would not be a big deal by then. The Sister of Battle was more embarrassed that her name was even in the Book of Heroes because she didn't feel worthy. But they looked at this.
That's how fast he talks. That's why this has taken 21 fucking minutes. Like, fuck me. Oh my god. Bits, take elocution lessons. Something. Like, learn to speak like a human being and not like a drugged out fucking hobo. Maybe go on a diet. That'll help you with breathing issues. I don't know. Something. Something, you absolute piece of shit. Fuck me, man. This has been painful. This is a pain. 21 minutes. 21 minutes and you don't make a single valid point. You don't make a single one. 21 minutes. Everything you said was either a lie or a disingenuous statement or a conflation of the truth. Matt the Beast, the only credit I can give his speaking voice is that he doesn't have inconsistently pregnant pauses like some people I've heard. Who could you be referencing? My god, 20 minutes on a 1.5, and this live is 3 hours. Yes! Now, to be fair, like the first 45 minutes, it was me just ranting and talking. But, yeah. Like, 2 hours and 15 minutes minimum of just working our way through it. And each and every single thing he said was such bullshit. Like, holy crap. I'm impressed. I'm impressed by how shit you are. Holy crap. Like, the fact that 50 people like this, those 50 people need to watch anything at all that isn't this. Well, Bits really has problems. No shit. The guy who said, who called women birthers has problems. The guy who called women birthers and then in the same breath says he advocates for women. He has problems? You don't say. Alright, gotta go. I'll watch the VOD later. Bye, Asmogan. See you later, Spencer Campbell. And with things we're wrapping up, so just this little end bit I guess you could catch up on. So, yeah, I'm gonna wrap up here. And, I guess I'll do a quick Q&A if you guys have any questions. But, so throw out any questions you guys might have for me. It doesn't have to necessarily have to do with Bits, because I'm sure all of you are just as tired of this asshole as I am. So, ask any questions about anything. Obviously, to an extent, I'll answer. But while I wait for any questions you guys may have, I'm gonna and I'm gonna like wrap up like my thoughts of the video. Granted, I didn't watch the whole thing, so I'm sure someone's gonna claim something about like, oh, he said this at this point. I'm not coming back to this video. Like, Bits is just a fucking chore to listen to. He's a fucking chore. Reverend Norse coming in with 100. Thank you, man. Thank you. Very generous of the Swedish crowns. That is what SEK is, Swedish crowns, right? Or am I an idiot? I might be an idiot. God, morning from Scandinavia. Gonna rewind and listen from the beginning. Awesome. Hope you enjoy. Or at the very least, hope you suffer like I've suffered. Okay, if GW were to do Sisters of Silence, what would you like to see? So when you say were to do Sisters of Silence, what would you like to do? So if what you mean by that is actually like make a full-fledged army for them, dedicatedly, and they were actually to do more novels with them as the central characters, I'd be fucking thrilled. Not right now with how terrible their fucking writers and how woke they are, but in an ideal world, and they were better than they are, or just simply back in their heyday, yeah, I think it'd be fucking awesome. As for what would I like to see specifically? I would like to have one of their central characters. I would like one of their central characters. Any opinions on this? Well, let me pull that in. I don't know if that's a bad image, so I'm gonna have to pull that aside. But I would like to see a central character, like a higher ranked Sisters of Silence. I would like her to go on a witch hunt. It would actually be interesting if they did like a demon is a really particularly potent demon was able to sneak in onto Terra. Maybe not necessarily to the Imperial Palace. It'd be cool though if like a demon, let's say, was to sneak onto Terra, the world, and was like, let's say, moving about like certain locations, and they sensed it. They sensed there was something amiss, so they sent one of the sisters to witch hunt it, to hunt it down and to eliminate it. It'd be a cool like cat and mouse story between the demon and the Null Psyker, the sister. And I would really like for the story to like really express that yes, the sister is very not overpowered, but very potent in this situation. The demon is running away from her, but to maintain the threat of the demon and to showcase its particular danger, I would like her to, like, as she's hunting it, come across its carnage. Let's say a squad of Lucifer Blacks encountered it, and the demon was able to use them against each other or was able to rip them apart in some way. I like really like lay out that this thing against anybody but the sister is a no-win scenario. This is a danger. This is absolutely a significant threat. But despite that, this thing is afraid of her. And not because she's a woman, and not because she's a whammon, don't pull that fucking card, but because she's a Null Psyker, because she's a Sister of Silence. And have the book build up to a moment where she finally corners the demon and fights it, and actually have a fight, but have it showcase that though it is a fight and though she's in danger and can get fucking hurt and could very easily be killed by the damn thing, she just being near it is causing it immense issues. Like, in the same breath, you're showcasing why Sisters of Silence are so potent and so awesome, but you're also showing why demons are dangerous by her following the carnage of it, and also showing that even though it is in the face of something so antithetical to its own existence, a Null Psyker, it's still a threat. It can still be a danger while it's still being ripped apart by even being near. And I would have like a final moment where this is where I'd be torn on like how to handle like the wrap up. I'd either have her backed up by a custodian, but she still gets like the final strike, showcasing like that playoff of each other, like the Custodes and the Sisters of Silence playing off one another and being two sides of a coin that need each other. But I would also consider her just solving it on her own. Again, showcasing like her capability and showcasing the potency of Sisters of Silence. Why they have earned every right to live and exist alongside custodians. Why they should be considered that level. So I'd really like that kind of moment. So that would be how I'd handle like that, like at least one of the books. I want many of them to do it. I want many to do with Sisters of Silence, but that's just how I'd handle one. Hey, Benjamin Cruz, Caventus, how are you doing? Oh god, we have awakened to. What have I awakened to? Nightmares. Ooh. When will GW announce Emperor's Children? I'm assuming you mean for CSM. Because technically you can play Emperor's Children right now. If you use regular Chaos Space Marines in 40k, or if you play Horus Heresy, you can just play them as one of your legions. But I'm assuming you mean for like an actual, like World Eaters are for a variation of CSM on the tabletop. I'm assuming that's what you mean. And I'm not sure would be my answer. Justin Ingora says I'm a Necron. I'm assuming you mean you're a Necron player? Justin Ingora says, what is the worst thing GW could add? At this point, female Space Marines. Worst thing. Whether it's a retcon or an ad, bad. It's really fucking bad. Oh yeah, by the way, bits, this is another thing that's kind of a point against bits, but granted, it is guilt by association, but to be fair, bits on numerous occasions has backed up Serba's perspective and opinions and has retweeted him. So it's not purely guilt by association. He has directly advocated and backed up Serb. And Serb, by the way, is a disgusting person. I'll put it like that. Very disgusting person. Evil fucking person. This video's been a bit about bits, but I actually really cannot stress this enough. Bits is evil. Like, well, Bits is a political pundit and is an asshole and a little bit evil, but Serb is actually evil. And this will bring down people's mood a little bit, but also, to be fair, this is a translation. But, yeah. So, Serb said this on Twitter. I can't wait until my son is 18 months old so I can play the plus 18 games with him. Now, it's a sick joke. It's a disgusting horror joke. He's kind of a, yeah. You're probably better off knowing as little about Serb as possible. But just so you know, this is something he said. Take from it what you will. I've certainly taken what I will from it. Reverend Norris, thank you for the 50, man. Thank you. I would have her shunned after saving everyone to show how people react to pariahs, regardless of if they save them or not. True. That'd also be a very good, poignant plot point with her story. Oh yeah, I know GW. GW endorses this person. Yeah, that is correct. That is correct. You're not a real Necron. I'm a Necron player. No one identifies as Necrons. Hey, don't say no one. There are weird people on the internet. That's why I have to ask. There's also this one. Just to share it. Serb did bring up, I don't even know if I want to read that out loud, and part of it is blocked by this. The person who took a screenshot chose an inconvenient time to lower the volume or increase it. But I'll let you read that. I'm not reading that out loud. Granted, it's not as bad as this. This one's bad. This one's a little less bad, I guess. It's still disgusting. Yeah, So yeah, the guy's a bit of a nonce. I can't say the word you guys are saying in chat because YouTube. But I will say he's a nonce. I'm pretty certain of it. I have my reasons for believing that. I'm sure he would claim it's all really disgusting jokes and stuff, but yeah. So, So if you're wondering if there's anyone worse than Bits in regards to the Wokehammer crowd, And keep in mind, Serb is considered up there with Bits. Bits and Serb are kind of like their ringleaders. These are the people they call in every time they need like a backup when they're getting their asses kicked in an argument. These are the people they hold up to be like their gods for the Wokehammer crowd. These are representative of the Wokehammer crowd by their own advocacy. So this isn't just us propping them up. This is them propping. These are the best of the Wokehammer crowd by their own actions. This is who they consider the best representation of their own crowd. So yeah. Yeah. So if anyone's ever wondering why I'm particularly vitriolic and hostile to these people, it's not just because they're woke, it's because they say shit like this. And shit like this. And a lot of other shit. Take his drive. Police certainly should. He lives in France, so they probably wouldn't do anything. We're never getting expansion. No. Especially after the introduction of Custodes, they're going to double down on them and focus on them. We're not going to see anything SOS related or love related for a long fucking time. We had a chance before Custodes or Femstodes. After Femstodes, especially after people hated on them so much, they're going to double down, triple down, quadruple down on them out of spite. And we're either going to see SOS eventually completely shafted out, or they're just going to leave them as is and leave them languishing yet again for forever. Yay. When do you think you'll play V Rising again? Pretty soon. I've been playing a lot of Ghost of Tsushima. I'm not gonna lie, I got a little bit addicted to that. I started playing that when I was sick, thinking I wouldn't play too much of it because I wasn't sure if it would be my kind of game. And I've already completely liberated the biggest zone in the game. Like I've 100%ed the starter zone, the big one with like 24 liberated spots and stuff. I've completely 100%ed that. So admittedly, I got sidetracked by that a lot. I should get back on the V Rising fairly soon. I'll probably play it again this week. V Rising is a game. It's a vampire survival crafting game. It's a really good one. It's probably one of my favorite survival crafting games. I've just taken a short break of it because Ghost of Tsushima came out. I wanted to try that out, and I've got a little addicted. So, I should play some more V Rising this week. I'm going to try and play it Friday. Friday's a weird day, though, because my day job has asked me to come in early. Trying to remember what the reason was. Oh, yeah, because one of my coworkers is planning on calling out, so they want me there a bit early to help out with some stuff. As it is, we're not going to get everything done because we're down a person. But they want me in a little bit early. I asked if I could be as close to my normal time as possible. So, again, we're not going to get everything done, and hopefully I'll still have time to like stream or something. It depends on how early I get up too. I've been having a weird habit lately of sleeping in. Not substantially. Like I go for my usual 5 hours, and I've been sleeping like 6 or 7. So adding another hour, I normally don't sleep. Sleep. Tongue tied. Of all questions, they legit could have also added Lucifer Blacks to the Custodes army. I disagree because I want the fucking Lucifer Blacks should be their own goddamn army, just like the there's the Guard army, and then there's the Scions. The third tier should be. This is my head desire that I'm sure they'll never do, and they fucked up. But here's the thing: you know how Space Marines have like basically 3 levels. You have normal Space Marines, which, to be fair, you could argue is also already 2 levels, which is normal Marines and Primaris, but generally they're considered within the same pocket. Space Marines, then you have Grey Knights, and then you have Custodes. You have the 3 tiers. Then for Sisters of Silence and Sisters of Battle. You have Sisters of Battle, then you have Sisters of Silence, and to be fair, there isn't a third tier with them. But you have like 2 levels with them, and I would be cool if they made like a weaker group there to be like the first level. But yeah, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. One thing I really fucking want for like the humans, like there's that 1, 2, 3 with Space Marines, Grey Knights, and then Custodes. I want there to be 3 levels of basic humans. Because we already have 2 levels. We have the basic guard, who are awesome. Then you have the scions, who are considered like the next level. Higher trained and part of the Schola Progenia. The third fucking tier of basic humans, the Custodes of humans, if you will, even though it's a bit fucking, I know, weird to put, but that should be Lucifer Blacks. They should be the Custodes of humans. I know it sounds fucking weird. I know. Meh. But I want that. And I'm fucking enraged we don't have that. Of course, getting it now is near impossible, but one I could dream at one point. Do you stealth or do you open combat? I'm open combat. I'm not gonna lie, I suck at stealth. The only games I ever did stealth well were the old AC games. AC1, the entire Ezio trilogy, Black Flag. I was good at stealth in those games. That's because the game forced me to do stealth, though. That's the thing. If I play a game where stealth is an option, that option will never be picked. If I can cheese it, if I can open combat a game, I fucking will. I do it every time. It's a bad fucking habit. So I need a game like old Assassin's Creed games were. I need a game that'll force me to play a certain way, so I'll be good at it. Now, granted, I like games that give me the option, but just know, like, if I get a game with an option to stealth or not stealth, I will not stealth. I will kill everybody. I might try and stealth here and there just to try it out, but if I break stealth or I get caught, oh well. Knives out, guns out, let's go blazing. Set the assassin noises. Would you say Officio Assassinorum are the 3rd tier? No. Not how they work. They're like their own special... the assassins are their own special units, kind of like inquisitors. They're not an actual like army proper. They're special units you ally in. Like a proper army, because you can make one out of Lucifer Blacks. You absolutely can do that. Takes a little creativity. They would have to add lore with them for sure, but you can do it. There's a potent... they could make a whole army out of the Scions. You can make a whole army out of Lucifer Blacks. They absolutely could do it. They just put a little creativity behind it. Fuck it. Hire a fan like me, and I'll do it for you. That's exactly my mindset, Endeli. It's still stealth if there are no living witnesses. It's like, hey, they can't find me if they're dead. Exactly, that's my fortune of stealth. When you want to be stealthy in a game and nails just start biting, yeah. To Payday 1, 2, and 3. We're going loud, boys. Every time. I have tried to stealth in Payday 2, especially with friends, and I feel bad when I'm always the one that gets caught. Alright. So I'm now going to wrap up the stream, my wonderful, amazing people. Thank you all so much for watching. It was a pretty good stream, despite the fact that the topic of the stream was a test. They should use this to torture prisoners. I'm not gonna lie. Like when we're trying to torture terrorists for information, or just general bad people, they should use Bitshammer's fucking video. But anyway, I gotta go to bed. I got work tomorrow. Yeah. Again, thank you guys for being awesome, though, and making it something somewhat palatable. Fucking Bitshammer. My God, dude. All right. Night.